In the first year of our marriage, the award-winning actor left behind a diary and songs dedicated to his white moonlight before taking his own life. Overnight, the entire internet branded me as a homewrecker and slut. I spent my entire youth supporting him from nothing to fame, yet his diary overflowed with love for his unattainable muse. Song Lisa harbored nothing but hatred toward me, resenting that I secured the graduate recommendation spot, forcing his beloved to leave him behind abroad. After a car accident, I was reborn back to the day Song Lisa confessed his feelings to me in college. Jiangji, will you be my girlfriend? At our graduation farewell party, Song Lisa stepped out briefly before returning to confess his love unexpectedly. It all happened without warning, completely out of the blue. The classmates erupted in surprised cheers, egging us on with playful excitement. Song Lisa stood before me, his eyes rimmed red. Wearing no trace of joy, only bitter anguish as he gazed at me, I snapped back to reality, cold sweat trickling down my temples, the phantom pain of crushing metal still lingering. Trembling uncontrollably, I faced the man I'd loved for 8 years, who took his own life a year after their wedding, leaving me to endure nationwide vilification and a mutilated death wrought by his legacy. Thank goodness, I actually reincarnated 8 years back after dying. My best friend yanked me up, seeing me spaced out. Jiangji, what are you standing around for? Haven't you always had a thing for Song Lisa? Suppressing the turmoil of emotions and hatred, I coldly refused. No, I don't like you. A flicker of emotion finally crossed Song Lisa's expressionless face. Suppressing my disgust at his stunned disbelief, I pushed past my equally shocked best friend and stormed out of the private room. Jiangji, what the hell was that? You've always... My friend's furious shout followed me as she tried to chase after. Glancing back, I saw Song Lisa say something to her that finally stopped her pursuit. I'd only just been reborn today, after Song Lisa's diary and songs were leaked. His deranged fans tampered with my car's brake pads to avenge their idol, the award-winning actor. Throughout college, he kept breaking up and making up with Manhua Qing, while I secretly nursed my crush, known only to my best friend Feng Feifei. On graduation day, I agreed to become Song Lisa's girlfriend. I juggled grad school while supporting his 3-year climb in showbiz, continuing through our first year of marriage. After all these years, even a stone would have warmed to my touch, yet on every passionate night, he'd never kiss me. His indifference toward me remained unchanged. He never loved me, and I've always known it. This marriage was nothing more than Song Lisa settling for me after realizing Manhua Qing was forever out of reach. But I never imagined he actually hated me. After Song Lisa's death, I wore out his diary from constant rereading. Every page dripped with his hatred toward me. When Manhua Qing broke up with him and went abroad, he blamed me for stealing her postgraduate recommendation spot that kept them apart. From the very beginning, he was only with me to pressure me into giving up my recommendation spot for Manhua Qing. Yet Manhua Qing still went abroad in the end. He blamed it all on me, said my relationship with him drove Manhua Qing away. Fine then, this time around, I'll keep my distance from Song Lisa and stay out of their messy drama. Jiangji, how could you just leave without saying goodbye? Later that evening, Feng Feifei and the others returned. Noticing I was on my phone, Feng Feifei pulled me toward the balcony. Jiangji, Song Lisa confessed his feelings during dinner. Why didn't you say yes? Haven't you always liked him? I stared at Feng Feifei, remaining silent for a long moment. What's with that look? I shook my head. Like I said, I don't have feelings for him anymore. No way. You've been crazy about Song Lisa for 4 years. You can't just switch off feelings like that, Feng Feifei said with obvious disbelief. They've already broken up. What's holding you back? I seriously don't get why you're still refusing. I lowered my eyelids with a bitter chuckle. Yeah, it's been 4 years now. 8 whole years couldn't melt Song Lisa's heart. What makes you think another try would? Song Lisa never showed me an ounce of respect till the day he died. He selfishly paraded his burning passion for all to see, never considering the hell I'd endure after his death. I haven't had a decent night's sleep since the cyberbullying began. I've moved multiple times, but anti-fans always track me down. Harassment, disturbing packages, stalking, even paint vandalism. Song Lisa's fans would stop at nothing for him, but Song Lisa never considered any of that. He only wanted to descend into the underworld with Manhua Qing, their love now laid bare for all to see, to become eternal lovers in the afterlife. Feifei, is this really just about getting me together with him? Feng Feifei's eyes flickered uneasily, avoiding my gaze. Of course. Oh, never mind, I'm going to wash up. The smile vanished from my face as I watched Feng Feifei hurry away. 2 days before the car accident, I had gone to see Feng Feifei. Feng Feifei bears undeniable responsibility for the vicious cyberbullying I endured. First my husband took his own life for his lover, then this so-called friend deliberately twisted facts online and incited her followers to attack me. I demanded to know why she did it, but she just glared at me with venom. I despise you, you know that. If it weren't for you, that grad school recommendation spot would have been mine. With your privileged background, you could have done anything. Why did you have to steal this opportunity from me? Feifei, I know you failed the grad school entrance exam, but I still managed to get you into. Feng Feifei cut me off mid-sentence, raising her voice. You think I should grovel with gratitude for your petty charity? I loathe rich people like you, so arrogant, so condescending. You'll never understand what us poor folks go through. Whatever, your father disowned you long ago. And you brought this all upon yourself. Had it not been for that online harassment before my death, I'd never have realized I'd completely misjudged Feng Feifei. In my past life, I genuinely cared for Feng Feifei, even when I fought with my father over dating Song Liza. Before he became an award-winning actor, I still swallowed my pride to ask Dad to get her a job at my brother's company after she failed her postgraduate entrance exams, later when she developed feelings for my brother. I even played matchmaker. Who would have thought she'd stab me in the back like this? Even when my relationships with my father and brother hit rock bottom, Feng Feifei certainly helped plenty. Thank goodness I got a second chance at life. This time around, Feng Feifei, without my help, your path will only get harder. In the following days, as soon as I wrapped up school matters, I immediately booked a flight back to Beijing. Shortly after arriving home, old Jiang received word from the butler and rushed straight back to the Jiang family villa. Xiaoji, what brings you home? I thought you were too busy with school to come back for summer break. With reddened eyes, I shook my head before suddenly giggling. Dad doesn't want me home. Fine then, I'll just head back to campus. What nonsense. Your father couldn't be happier. Old Yang, hurry and tell Xiaoji's home. Make sure he comes back early tonight. Old mister. Jiang stroked my head with trembling hands, tears streaming down his weathered face as he kept murmuring about how much thinner I'd become since last time. For father, our last meeting had been merely a month ago, but for me, a whole year had passed. During my 3 grueling years of grad school in my past life, I rarely returned to Beijing to spend time with Dad. Instead, I devoted myself completely to accompanying Song Liza to countless casting calls and networking dinners. His agency never gave him the attention he deserved. Being the daughter of Beijing's entertainment mogul did give me some insider knowledge about showbiz. For the longest time, I practically became his de facto manager. During a business dinner in Beijing, I coincidentally ran into a drama series our Jiang Entertainment had invested in. That night, as I kept clinking glasses with Song Liza, Old Man Jiang's face darkened the entire evening. The next day, Old Man Jiang, who'd always treated me like his princess, demanded I break up with Song Liza. My father's eyes turned red with fury. If that penniless boy truly cared for you, he wouldn't drag a young lady like you into hardship. The greatest regret of my life was failing your mother. When she lay bedridden, I was powerless to help, and now, are you trying to be the death of me? Jiang Entertainment was built from scratch by my father and mother. That's why Mom's health was always fragile. She passed away when I was 5, leaving us behind. Song Liza came from humble beginnings, and Old Man Jiang knew all too well how grueling it is to stand by a man through his struggles. He refused to let me relive my mother's hardships. When there were smoother paths ahead, I stubbornly chose the rockiest one. Looking back now, I was truly love-struck and reckless in my youth. Later, Song Liza and I got married. By then, Song Liza had already become the youngest Best Actor winner. Father grudgingly acknowledged his competence. As his only daughter, I'd always been spoiled rotten. He indulged my every whim since childhood. Even when he disapproved of my marriage choice, he eventually relented. Though I'd asked Feng Feifei to deliver the wedding invitation, not a single Jiang family member showed up. After spending several days in Beijing, I returned to Jiang City just in time for graduation photos. Back at school, I learned that during my absence, Song Liza and Meng Yueqing's dramatic romance had taken a turn. Meng Yueqing went abroad. In our past life, Song Liza resented how Meng Yueqing never factored him into her future plans. She quietly prepared to study overseas and break up with him, so he rushed to confess to me, trying to sweet-talk me into giving up my guaranteed graduate spot, only to push Meng Yueqing further away. This time around, I stayed out of it. Meng Yuqing left the country without even taking graduation photos. The whole class knew about Song Liza confessing to me that night. Before the photographer arrived, people were already coming up to talk to me about it. Oh Jiangji, you should have seen it. Everyone was there when Meng Yuqing said Song Liza's family background was beneath her, that they came from different worlds, had no future together. And her family would never accept some penniless boy like him. But honestly, Meng Yuqing's family owns hotel chains. Song Liza really doesn't measure up. Hey Jiangji, go for it now. You're not from Jiang City originally, right? You two would actually make a great pair. Feng Feifei told me you've liked him for 4 years. Now you don't have to worry about Song Liza getting tangled up with Meng Yuqing anymore. I never told anyone during my 4 years of college that I'm the heiress of Jiang Entertainment. To our classmates, Song Liza and I came from similarly privileged backgrounds. What they didn't know was that Song Liza's family status couldn't even compare to mine, the youngest heiress of the Jiang family in the capital. I shook my head. Didn't I make myself clear that night? I'm not into Song Liza. Besides, why would I chase after a man nobody else wants? I'm not some trash bin. Before I could finish, the classmates around us gasped sharply. Turning around, he stood just steps away. Song Liza's face darkened as he glared at me fiercely. Clearly, he must have overheard what was just said. Those classmates scurried away in haste, leaving me standing alone. I rubbed my nose and was about to walk away. Song Liza cut me off in 3 quick strides. The 6-foot-tall man loomed over me with intimidating presence. His pitch-black eyes, simmering with quiet anger, pinned me with an inescapable gaze. I sighed and met his stare head-on. In my past life, I'd have been too shy to meet his gaze, all timid and reserved, but after reading those diary entries, all I felt was hatred. My heart wouldn't skip another beat for him. Jiangji, do you really not like me? Not at all. Without a moment's hesitation, Song Liza's expression clearly showed disbelief. Indeed, the diary entries Song Liza wrote at this time dripped with arrogance and smugness. Jiangji loves me so much, she's been obsessed with me for 4 years. The moment I confessed, she jumped at the chance. If I sweet-talk her into dropping grad school, she'll definitely agree. What a pathetic simp Jiangji is. Hilarious. Does she actually think I'm with her because I like her? Once she quits grad school, I'm dumping her immediately. Ching, I'll be with you soon. Where would Jiangji, that broke loser, get money to buy me shoes? Fake knockoffs without even looking. What an embarrassment to have a girlfriend like this. This simp doesn't hold a candle to my Ching. If Jiangji loves me so much like the desperate simp she is, why won't she give up her grad school spot for me? Women's promises are worthless. It's all your fault, you bitch, for tearing Ching and me apart. Ching, I miss you so much. Please come back. Even if Jiangji follows me like a pathetic groupie through my entertainment career, I'll never love her. Just say the word and I'll cut her off instantly. I've lost count of how many times I've read these diary entries. Every single punctuation mark is burned into my memory, and each recollection makes me sick to my stomach. Impossible. Feng Feifei said you've had a crush on me for 4 years. Jiangji, are you playing hard to get? I stared at Song Liza with utter disbelief written all over my face. Song Liza completely ignored my expression and sneered, just give it up already. I'd never fall for someone like you. You're not even fit to lick Ching's little finger. What a jerk. I took a deep breath, rolled my eyes, and walked away. After taking graduation photos, my college years officially came to an end. Everyone's going their separate ways, each with their own future. Some are starting jobs, others preparing for grad school exams, studying abroad, or like me, getting direct admission to grad school. Freed from being Song Liza's lackey, I suddenly found myself with nothing to do and completely at ease. As I finished packing my dorm room and booked my flight back to Beijing, Feng Feifei burst through the door. Jiangji, why are you walking so fast? Couldn't you wait for me? My packed suitcase sat at my feet, while my phone displayed a freshly purchased plane ticket. Feng Feifei gasped in surprise. Jiangji, are you heading back to Beijing already? I remained non-committal, though Feng Feifei's tone carried a hint of reproach. Why are you leaving so soon? Didn't we agree you'd stay with me for a few days? And what about helping me find a job like you promised? I remained silent for a long moment. Truth be told, these were all promises we'd made in our past lives. At school, Feng Feifei was one of the few people who knew about my family background. Feng Feifei once caught a glimpse of me video chatting with my dad. She'd assumed I was some sugar baby for a wealthy old man, and her jaw practically hit the floor. After learning I was actually an heiress, she started cozying up to me deliberately. Having failed to secure grad school admission and unwilling to endure the grind, she came begging for my help. My soft heart got the better of me, so I agreed. Jiangji. Feng Feifei's expression shifted slightly when she noticed me spacing out. Snapping back to reality, I gave her a knowing smirk. Feifei, you're the one who posted that on the school forum, aren't you? I pulled up a trending forum thread and shoved my phone in Feng Feifei's face. The post came from a brand new account. While it mainly gossiped about Song Liza and his girlfriend, every other sentence dragged me, the irrelevant bystander, into it, insisting I'd been secretly crushing on Song for 4 years. The post went viral, with everyone pitying Song Liza for being dumped while mocking me for overestimating myself and being a pathetic backup option. Jiangji, please let me explain. I just wanted Song Liza to know how you feel. You've liked him for so long, and as your best friend, I only want to see you happy. I don't know how things ended up like this. Feng Feifei turned pale instantly, tears streaming down her face. I scoffed coldly. You know exactly what you're thinking. I won't make this uglier than it needs to be. You're on your own now. As for work, a capable young person like you shouldn't have trouble finding a job. With that, I wheeled my suitcase out of the dorm. Moments later, the sound of shattering objects and Feng Feifei's shrieks erupted behind me. In this second chance at life, my deepest regret is failing my family. After returning home, I took the liberty of arranging a vacation for Dad and we went traveling together. We scaled mountains, marveled at waterfalls, roamed grasslands, and crossed deserts. That afternoon when we returned to Beijing, we ran into our college classmates Xiao Yao and Wu Linglong right outside the airport. When they saw me, their expressions turned strange. It took them a good while to recover before awkwardly greeting me. Feeling puzzled, I couldn't help but ask. Xiao Yao cleared her throat awkwardly and said, Jiangji, is it true you're being kept? What? I stared blankly, completely bewildered. They exchanged glances before finally opening up. Turns out, during my month-long trip, wild rumors about me being someone's mistress had been spreading across campus. People claimed that after Song Liza rejected me, I became so heartbroken that I ended up being kept by some wealthy old man. There were even so-called photographic evidence circulating that looked surprisingly convincing. Rumors started circulating out of nowhere, claiming my graduate school recommendation was orchestrated by some old man pulling strings behind my back. The two glanced at old Mr. Jiang boarding his Rolls-Royce, taking it as further confirmation of their suspicions. Jiangji, you're in the prime of your life. Don't throw yourself away just for grad school admission. That man could be your father. Have some self-respect. The university launched an investigation into your recommendation. If they find irregularities, your spot could go to someone else, and your parents will find out. This reckless gamble isn't worth the consequences. I stood frozen for what felt like ages, only snapping out of it when Dad called Xiaoji from across the room. Is there any chance this might actually be my father? I sighed wearily. Wait, Jiangji, your family isn't poor, you're rich. Both of them were utterly flabbergasted. Clenching my teeth, I finally asked, will my graduate recommendation spot go to Feng Feifei? After getting in the car, old Jiang noticed my grim expression and asked what was wrong. When he learned about the malicious rumors spread against me at school, old Jiang flew into a rage and wanted to turn straight back to the airport to teach my bullies a lesson. It took all my persuasion to calm old Jiang down. In the end, I didn't make it home, just turned right around and headed back to the airport. Accompanying me was my father's secretary's son. Old Jiang was tied up with work and simply lent secretary's son to me. Since it was a last-minute ticket to Jiangshi, the only available seat was in first class. Secretary's son and I had no choice but to sit separately. The moment I took my seat, the man beside me opened his eyes and glanced my way. I murmured an apology while stealing a proper look at him. The man wore a sharply tailored navy suit, his angular features softened only slightly by thin gold-framed glasses. With his long legs crossed casually, he exuded an air of refined elegance. He gave a slight nod, his aloof expression flickering momentarily before fixing me with that piercing stare again. I frowned uncomfortably, growing increasingly irritated by his unwavering gaze. Turning my head, I asked, "Excuse me, sir, do we know each other?" The man nodded faintly, and this time it was my turn to get angry. "Sir, your pickup line is painfully outdated. You don't remember me." The man let out a low chuckle, though his aristocratic features now carried unmistakable sorrow. I froze momentarily, staring at his face while desperately trying to recall where we'd met. Little Shadow, you heartbreaker, forgotten me completely after just a few years apart, the man chuckled exasperatedly. I froze momentarily before exclaiming in delight, Chenin, you're back, TSK. This little traitor who once promised to marry me now acts like she's never met me. His tone hovered between teasing and wounded. My face burned as I lowered my head. That's fate for you, wonderfully unpredictable. After years apart, I unexpectedly reunited with Lu Chenin on a flight. Lu Chenin was my brother's classmate, our neighbor, and a frequent dinner guest. We grew up bickering and bantering our way through childhood, with Dad always busy at work. I grew up clinging to my brother, wherever my brother went. I followed. That's how I earned the nickname Little Shadow from Lu Chenin. In the years after Mom passed away, my brother and I lived with Aunt Lu's family. You could say Chenin and I were childhood sweethearts. Back then, Lu Chenin was just a chubby little boy who often got teased with nicknames like Pudgy. That "I'll marry you" remark came about because people bullied Lu Chenin, saying no one would ever marry someone so overweight. Lu Chenin fed me while crying his eyes out, in a panic. I blurted out, Brother Chenin, if no one will marry you, I'll be your wife. You won't end up alone. Back when we were 15, Lu Chenin's family relocated abroad, and we've barely kept in touch over the years. Never imagined our reunion would happen like this. In my past life, I never saw Lu Chenin again until the day I died. Seems fate has rewritten many things since my rebirth. I burst out laughing. Though truth be told, I barely remember those childhood jokes anymore. Bringing it up now feels oddly awkward. Lu Chenin shot me a glance and said gloomily, What, got yourself a boyfriend now, you little heartbreaker? His tone carried this inexplicable mix of bitterness and resentment. I shook my head, but caught Lu Chenin pursing his lips out of the corner of my eye, a faint smile playing at the corners of his mouth. My brow twitched nervously as I quickly changed the subject. Chenin, when did you get back? Why didn't you reach out? My brother and I would have loved to welcome you home properly. I've been back for a few days, Lu Chenin replied, his gaze intense and lips curling into a smile that seemed to melt me on the spot. Was planning to contact you after wrapping things up, but my heart skipped a beat as a sudden thought flashed through my mind. Lu Chenin seemed oblivious to my evasion and continued cheerfully, a friend asked me to give a lecture at Jiang University. What brings you to Jiang City, Xiaoji? The joy of reuniting with a childhood friend instantly faded. My face darkened as a vicious glint flashed in my eyes. Brother Chenin, I just graduated from Jiang University, but this trip back is to settle some unfinished business. Noticing my grim expression, Lu Chenin wisely refrained from further questions. For the next hour, we didn't speak again, and I drifted off to sleep without realizing it. When I opened my eyes again, Lu Chenin's jacket was draped over me. The subtle scent of pinewood filled my senses, bringing unexpected comfort. I sat there dazed, surprised I'd managed to sleep so soundly on a plane. I haven't been sleeping well since coming back to this life. I'm terrified this might all be fake. Just a dream, afraid I'll wake up to find nothing changed, trapped again in that cyberbullying storm, treated like vermin everyone wants gone, forced to slink through gutters when going out. You're awake. Perfect timing, we're almost there. I nodded, took a deep breath, and handed the coat back. Lu Chenin didn't accompany us after we left the airport. After exchanging contact information with him, Secretary's son and I headed straight to Jiang University. In the office of Jiang University's president, a shrill voice rang out from inside, Principal Wang, this shameless and morally corrupt student must be expelled, otherwise, what's to stop other decent children from following her example? We must nip this toxic influence in the bud. My footsteps faltered as a cold smirk twisted my lips. Wasn't that Ms. Lee, the teacher who'd never had a kind word for me? Her daughter attended Jiang University too, yet year after year, it was my academic excellence that secured every scholarship. Department quotas are limited, and with her daughter constantly being outperformed by me, she couldn't save face yet couldn't do anything about it, resorting to petty sabotage behind my back. Now that I've crashed and burned, aside from Feng Feifei, she's probably the most delighted. Bang, with a loud bang, I shoved open the principal's office door. The two in the room spun around in alarm. Recognizing me, Professor Li sprang to his feet and immediately launched into accusations. Jiang Ji, have you no sense of propriety? Barging into a professor's office without knocking. President Wang, expel this student at once, or our century-old Jiang University's reputation will be tarnished by her scandal. I gave Professor Li a cool glance, jumping to conclusions before verifying facts, quite enlightening coming from an educator. Professor Lee glared daggers, fuming. Photos don't lie. Your sugar daddy arrangement is practically confirmed. That graduate recommendation spot, humph, clearly ill-gotten. I snorted coldly and remained silent, merely shooting Secretary Sun a meaningful glance. Secretary Sun stepped forward with a stern expression. Principal Wang, he said gravely. The malicious rumors about being kept circulating through your institution have caused our young mistress considerable distress. Chairman Jiang is furious. This matter won't be swept under the rug. Our legal team is en route to file individual lawsuits against every perpetrator. Furthermore, regarding the controversy over our young mistress's postgraduate recommendation, since your investigation has failed to clear her name, the Jiang Group will conduct its own thorough inquiry. Should evidence prove her innocence, we expect Principal Wang to publicly exonerate her. Beads of sweat formed on Principal Wang's temples as he took in Secretary Sun's no-nonsense demeanor. He scrambled to his feet and ventured timidly, "May I ask which Mr. Jiang you're referring to?" Chairman of Capital City's Jiang Entertainment Group. Principal Wang's eyes widened, his voice trembling as his gaze shifted toward me. So Jiang Ji is the Jiang Group heiress, Chairman Jiang's only daughter. Principal Wang's demeanor instantly became deferential, treating me with night and day difference in attitude while fully cooperating with Secretary Sun's requests. As for Teacher Lee, upon learning my true identity, he froze completely on the spot. Then, as if struck by some sudden realization, he hurriedly rushed out of the room. By the time I stepped out of Principal Wang's office again, a full hour had passed. All posts about me on the school forum were taken down within this hour. I decided to stop hiding my identity as the Jiang Entertainment heiress and had Secretary Sun make it public. All this secrecy got me nowhere. Might as well announce it to the world. Better to inconvenience others than suffer in silence. But before Secretary Sun and I could leave campus, someone stopped us. It was none other than Song Liza, whom I hadn't seen in over a month. What's the matter? Time might dull all things. Seeing Song Liza again after this month apart, I could regard him with detached calmness, as one would a stranger. Yet even so, I'll never forget the pain he caused me in my past life. After loving so deeply, though the love is gone, the resentment lingers. Jiang Ji. So you really are the heiress of Jiang Entertainment? I nodded openly in acknowledgement. In my past life, I never told Song Liza about my true identity, initially because I didn't want to burden him. Later, I kept silent after severing ties with the Jiang family, simply letting my background remain unspoken. But then, Song Liza suddenly erupted in fury. It was you, wasn't it? You're behind this. I stumbled backward in terror. The same dread from confronting those frenzied fans in my previous life surging through me again. Secretary Sun immediately stepped in front of Song Liza. Sir, I advise you to calm down. If you act recklessly, our CEO Jiang won't let anyone who disrespects the young mistress get away with it. Secretary Sun pushed Song Liza aside, then addressed me deferentially. Young mistress, shall we go? I nodded in agreement. But after taking just a couple of steps, I paused again. I really don't want to have anything to do with Song Liza again, but I'm more curious about what Song Liza actually meant by his words. Song Liza, what did you mean by that just now? Jiang Ji, stop pretending. This has to be your doing. Why else would Jiang Entertainment back out of signing me at the last minute? You're behind this, aren't you? Song Liza's face turned ashen, his handsome features twisting into something almost grotesque in that moment. I stood frozen for what felt like ages, staring at that face without a trace of my former fluttering heart. This was the same face that had been worshipped as god-tier handsome in his past life, driving hordes of fangirls wild with devotion. No wonder when Song Liza announced his marriage, the internet overflowed with vicious rumors about this mysterious sister-in-law. Song Liza, I haven't done anything. I've always stayed out of company affairs, I sighed. In our past life, Song Liza chose to enter the entertainment industry partly because of Meng Yuqing. In this lifetime, I never imagined Song Liza would still end up in showbiz, but none of that matters anymore. Without me in this lifetime, Song Liza's path will only grow more arduous. After distancing myself from Song Liza, I remained at Jiang University, having dismissed Secretary Sun. I headed to Jiang University's grand auditorium, even before entering. The crisp voice amplified through the auditorium speakers reached me, gentle as a spring breeze, quietly nourishing everything it touches. I slipped in unnoticed and quietly took a seat in the last row of the auditorium. Lu Qinan stood tall and handsome, his gold-rimmed glasses lending him an air of refined elegance, sending the female students attending the lecture into a flutter. After the lecture ended, Lu Chenan was swarmed by female students eager to add his WeChat. Leaning against a nearby doorway, I waited quietly until Lu Chenan spotted me and gave me a slight chin lift. If you have any questions, feel free to contact that male student. He'll compile them and forward to me. Lu Chenan gave a nod to the disappointed female students before pushing through the crowd toward me. Been waiting long? I shook my head and blinked. Not at all. Professor Lu's lecture was truly enlightening. Lu Chenan paused briefly before letting out a quiet chuckle. Professor Lu, what's your relationship with Jiang Ji? Don't tell me you two are. I'd become somewhat of a campus celebrity at Jiang University lately, with my identity no longer concealed. Many in the auditorium had recognized me. The familiar way I interacted with Lu Chenan drew countless curious gazes our way. About Jiang Ji and me, Lu Chenan paused briefly, casting me what seemed like a casual glance. Lowering my gaze, I volunteered an explanation. Professor Lu and I were childhood friends. Lu Chenan froze momentarily, a flicker of disappointment crossing his face before he smoothly led me out of the auditorium as if nothing had happened. Secretary Sun truly lives up to being my father's right-hand woman. She handles matters with such efficiency that it puts my mind completely at ease. 2 days later, Secretary Sun came to see me with the file folder. Miss, we've uncovered the truth about the matter. I didn't rush to open the folder. Sighing, it was Feng Feifei, wasn't it? Handle this matter as it should be. No need to go easy. Some people don't deserve her forgiveness, just like the last life. And this one too. Secretary Sun shook her head. Miss, Feng Feifei didn't do this. I turned my head in shock and asked. Not Feng Feifei, how is that even possible? I've seen those photos circulating wildly on the forums, if I'm not mistaken. They must have been taken about 6 months ago. I remember that occasion vividly. Chairman Jiang was visiting Jiang City on business, but couldn't pick me up himself due to official duties. Secretary Sun ended up driving to collect me after class. Feng Feifei was present that day too, and the photo angles clearly indicate she must have been the one who took them. Could it be? I immediately opened the folder. Inside was a document retrieved by Secretary Sun through Jiang Entertainment's PR team, the IP address of the account that first spread rumors about me. I wasn't surprised when I saw the location was Jiang University. My heart skipped a beat when I saw Ms. Li's name on the second sheet. It felt both expected and unexpected at the same time. Just days ago, Ms. Li had been vehemently demanding Principal Wang take disciplinary action against me in his office, so her involvement wasn't entirely surprising. But how on earth did she get hold of these photos? Miss, Li Shuihua's actions have infringed upon your reputation rights. With the evidence we've gathered, we can file a lawsuit against her. What are your thoughts? While the charges aren't serious enough to land her in jail, old Mr. Jiang is furious. Ruining her reputation and costing her job would be effortless. Secretary Sun's words snapped me back to reality. After a long pause, I said, proceed with the lawsuit, show no mercy, handle this by the book. In this second life, I refuse to suffer any injustice. Those who wronged me will pay dearly. Every last one of them. Li Shuihua was no exception. 2 weeks later, Li Shuihua came looking for me. The arrogant bully I'd confronted in the principal's office had vanished. She stood before me a completely different person. Old Chairman Jiang kept pressuring Li Shuihua, who got embroiled in lawsuits again. Jiang University had long fired her, and even her daughter couldn't hold her head up on campus anymore. Jiang Ji. I beg you, let me go, spare my daughter. I did all this myself, she had nothing to do with it. Don't ruin her life. I've lost my job now. Aren't you satisfied? Show some mercy where mercy is due. Leave some room for reconciliation. We might cross paths again someday. Li Shuihua now looked a decade older. This woman who'd always maintained such impeccable, dignified grooming. Her hair was tied up haphazardly, dark circles shadowing her eyes. Who knows how long she'd gone without sleep. Professor Li, when you were spreading those vile rumors about me, did you ever imagine this day would come? Watching Li Shuihua remain silent, I sneered. Gossip can destroy a person effortlessly. Wang Lu and I were the same age. Why couldn't you find it in your heart to spare me back then? You brought all this upon yourself. Li Shuihua collapsed to the ground, her face dazed and disoriented. After what felt like an eternity, she staggered to her feet and stumbled out. You didn't take those photos yourself, did you? Who gave them to you? Li Shuihua froze mid-step. I don't know either. Someone anonymously emailed me, saying you were kept, implying your qualifications were. I scoffed coldly, getting cheated and still helping count the money. Professor Li's even dumber than I thought. Li Xiuhua rushed toward me with frenzied malice twisting her features. Who was it? Who's trying to ruin me? A glint flashed through my eyes. Why not let them destroy each other while I reap the rewards? I never saw Li Xiuhua again after that. Later I heard Li Xiuhua got sentenced for intentional assault. Feng Feifei reportedly suffered 2 deep facial lacerations requiring over a dozen stitches, leaving her severely disfigured. Classmates who were relatively close to her visited twice, but afterward, all contact with Feng Feifei ceased completely. Whether she remained in Jiang City or relocated elsewhere remains unknown at this time. I'm thoroughly satisfied with how this situation unfolded. Li Xiuhua paid her due price, and Feng Feifei met the same fate. Most crucially, Feng Feifei's facial disfigurement now makes it highly unlikely she'll become entangled with my brother like in our past life. In our previous life, I attended Jiang Entertainment's annual gala to support Song Li's career, bringing Feng Feifei along as company, yet somehow, Feng Feifei ended up sharing an intimate night with my brother Jiang Huai. After that fateful night, Feng Feifei came to me weeping bitterly with her grievances. My heart softened, knowing my brother had no affection for his original fiancée, the Wu family heiress, so I deliberately played matchmaker for them. But who could have guessed Feng Feifei's viperous nature would, even now, reborn. Recalling the foolish deeds of my past life makes me want to slap myself hard across the face. Thank goodness. None of this will happen now, with everything settled. September quietly arrived as I prepared to embark on my new life. Yet a week into the semester, I froze in place when I saw that familiar figure entering behind my graduate advisor, Lu Chenin. What's he doing here? After that day, Lu Chenin mentioned he'd stay in Jiang City for 2 days. But the very next day, Lu Chenin abruptly left Jiang City and rushed abroad for urgent matters. We barely kept in touch that summer. Never expecting Lu Chenin would quietly return, I pursed my lips, ignoring Lu Chenin's surreptitious wink before abruptly turning my head away. After our advisor introduced Lu Chenin as the visiting professor, we were dismissed. 2 classmates tried dragging me along for lunch, but I didn't even get a chance to respond. Footsteps quickly approached from behind. Xiaoji, a mellow voice drifted into my ears. 2 classmates halted abruptly, their faces flushing as they watched Lu Chenin greeting me. Jiangji, let's grab dinner another time. We'll head off first. They winked at me conspiratorially before hastily abandoning me. What's the rush? Couldn't even wait for me. I huffed with clear annoyance. Somebody just waltzed back into town without even telling their old friend, sneaking into Jiangda like a thief. Lu Chenin's expression flickered momentarily before quickly regaining composure. My bad, princess, wanted to surprise you. How about I treat you to something delicious? Consider it my peace offering. It was at the dinner table that I learned Lu Chenin had always planned to return to China for his career. His recent absence was because Aunt Lu fell ill, prompting him to rush back home. As Lu Chenin went to settle the bill after dinner, I found myself quietly staring at his retreating figure. Despite his current achievements and numerous job offers from prestigious companies, he chose Jiang University, an oddly unsuitable fit for someone of his caliber. The reasons behind this are self-evident. What's on your mind? Lost in thought with furrowed brows, I snapped back to reality to find Lu Chenin gazing at me with a gentle smile, his slender fingers waving playfully before my eyes. Shaking my head, I walked out with Lu Chenin, keeping my eyes downcast. For the next couple weeks, whenever Lu Chenin came to teach at Jiang University, he'd drag me out under the pretense of having me show him around the city. It felt like we'd returned to how things used to be between us. When the National Day holiday rolled around, we traveled back to Beijing together. My brother and I gathered our Beijing social circle to throw Lu Chenin a proper welcome banquet celebrating his return. After being reborn, I rarely touched alcohol again. In my previous life at this time, aside from focusing on studies at school, I was constantly accompanying Song Liza to banquet tables. I often drank heavily during dinners just to help Song Liza save face. My habit of skipping meals while busy eventually took its toll, leaving my stomach permanently damaged. At the boozy dinner that decided Song Liza's career-making film role before our marriage, I drank myself straight to the hospital with gastric bleeding. This time, whether from relief at escaping my past life's misery or something else, I indulged quite freely. As the banquet wound down, I slumped on the couch half asleep, watching my brother see guests out before closing my eyes again. Xiaoji, your phone's ringing. A rustling sound stirred beside me as Lu Chenin nudged my shoulder. No, I want to sleep, I mumbled drowsily, swatting his hand away. Xiaoji, they've called multiple times, must be something urgent. Squinting irritably, I grumbled, then you answer it. Who calls this late anyway? Lu Qianan lowered his gaze to the phone screen, where a single character song was noted beside a string of numbers. A cold glint flashed briefly in his eyes. Then he answered the call. Jiangji, didn't you say you liked me? Fine, I'll agree to be with you, but don't get the wrong idea, this isn't about feelings, there's a condition, you have to get me signed with Jiang Corporation. Lu Qianan tightened his grip on the phone as the drunken haze in his eyes cleared, replaced by icy sharpness. Xiaoji's asleep, stop calling and disturbing us. Song Li's shrill scream came through the receiver. Who are you? What's your relationship? Why are you with Jiangji this late? The screaming abruptly stopped, followed by a loud crash from the other end of the line. I woke up hungover the next day, nearly noon already. I wasn't particularly surprised to see Lu Qianan sitting in our house when I came downstairs. Xiaoji, Lu Qianan stopped me with a grave expression, hesitation written on his face. Morning, brother Qianan. Xiaoji, I answered a call for you last night. The caller got into a car accident mid-conversation. I froze for a moment. This vaguely rang a bell. I was blackout drunk last night, but I think I did ask him to take that call for me. Immediately walking over, I unlocked my phone and pulled up the call log. Xiaoji, who's that guy? When I answered your phone last night, he sounded way too excited. The man beside me wore a resentful expression, his tone laced with subtle jealousy. Just someone unimportant. I quietly deleted the record and composed myself. Had this been my past life when I was still deeply in love with him, I would have rushed over without hesitation, but now, in this lifetime, we've long been strangers. I looked up just in time to catch Lu Qianan's faint smirk. Though sometimes, I don't go looking for trouble, trouble still finds its way to me. Around noon, Song Li's call came through again. Lu Qianan glanced at the phone beside him upon hearing the ringtone. Xiaoji, maybe you should take this. He seemed to have something urgent to discuss with you last night. Excuse me for a moment. The man froze momentarily before slamming his cutlery down with clenched teeth. Running a frustrated hand through his hair. What is it? I asked coldly. The voice on the other end sounded displeased. Jiangji, do you know what time it is? I'd been in an accident. Why aren't you here taking care of me? And bring me some food from Yuda restaurant on your way. I'm starving. My eyes widened as a chill crept up from the soles of my feet. Yuda restaurant. That was the place where I used to buy meals for Song Lija in my past life. Only 200 tables served daily. To see Song Lija smile, I'd move mountains to get him a reservation. In this lifetime, we've never, could it be? I took a deep breath. Song Lija, order takeout if you're hungry. I'm not your delivery boy. The line went silent for a long moment before suddenly turning impatient. Jiangji, what's this nonsense? Get to People's Hospital now. If you're not here in 30 minutes, don't blame me for breaking up with you. Song Lija, get this straight, when were we ever together? Did that car crash scramble your brains too? A pained wail suddenly came through the line as I held the receiver away. Only when the noise stopped did I press the phone back to my ear. Jiangji, tell me, have you also come back? Song Li's voice sounded strangled, hoarse, fragile, laced with lingering terror. My heart lurched. You're insane, I spat before slamming the phone down. It dawned on me that Song Lija might have been reborn just like me after that car accident. I've been completely out of sorts all day. With an apologetic look, I turned to Lu Qianan, who'd called my name at least 5 times while I was spacing out. Qianan, I'm not feeling well. I think I'll head back early. Lu Qianan pressed his lips together. Alright, let me give you a ride. I didn't refuse and rode back in Lu Qianan's car. But while we were still on the road, a call came through from People's Hospital. Is this Jiangji? Ms. Jiang. I answered, hearing a faint note of resignation in the voice on the other end. Here's the situation. Your boyfriend Song Lija was in a car accident last night. He just regained consciousness today after being in critical condition. Could you come to People's Hospital? There are some matters we need to discuss with you in person. Though spoken quietly, Lu Qianan at the wheel clearly overheard. Turning his gaze toward me, Lu Qianan remained silent, his expression inscrutable. Dark currents swirling in his eyes. Sorry, I'm not Song Lija's girlfriend, Ms. Jiang. Every couple has their disagreements. That's perfectly normal. While your current spat isn't ideal, we're talking about matters of life and death here. Mr. Song's condition is rather complicated. I strongly advise you to come in, but I wanted to refuse, but the words died on my lips. The nurse interrupted. Mr. Song kept calling your name while unconscious. He clearly still cares for you. Lovers' quarrels are never lasting, you should come right away. I sighed and put down my phone. When I looked up, the car had somehow pulled over to the roadside. Lucian's usually refined features were now shadowed with gloom, his eyes turbulent with conflicting emotions. Before I realized it, Lu Chenin had unbuckled his seatbelt and was leaning toward me. Brother Chenin, warm breath brushed against my face, carrying the intoxicating scent of pinewood. His lips were merely a finger's width away, the slightest forward movement would bring them to mine. Xiaoji, who exactly is this Song guy? If he's not your boyfriend, why does he keep pestering you? Lu Chenin's lips drew closer, his eyes burning with unmistakable jealousy. Xiaoji, have you been distracted all day because you're thinking about him? Are you considering becoming his girlfriend? With confusion written all over my face. The rest of my words were swallowed by Lu Chenin's kiss, as if afraid I might actually say something he didn't want to hear. Don't you dare pull such dangerous stunts again, understand? Consider this your warning, next time you'll get a ticket. Nodding like a pecking chicken, I watched the traffic officer leave before kicking Lu Chenin, who was grinning like an idiot beside me. Watching him beam with delight, I felt a dull ache throbbing in my lips. Glaring furiously, I snapped. This is all your fault, how can you still laugh? Xiaoji, I've given you my first kiss, you'd better take responsibility. Flustered and furious, I retorted, why you kissed me? I didn't even call you a creep, how shameless can you be? Lu Ken pulled me into his embrace abruptly, and I didn't struggle to break free. The man's voice brimmed with delight. If shamelessness can win me a wife, then I'll gladly discard my pride. What's dignity worth anyway? His chin rested on my shoulder. Warm breath tickling my skin until I shivered uncontrollably, my ears flushing crimson instantly. Xiaoji, I'm sorry, when he called last night wanting to be with you, I was terrified you'd actually say yes. If you ended up with him, I'd go mad with jealousy. I'll never be with him, not ever. Nothing in life is absolutely certain, but I'm absolutely certain about this one thing, having already died once. I'm not about to make the same mistake again. Lu Chenin arched an eyebrow, staring straight at me. Then you'll have to be with me. Will you be my girlfriend? Seeing me hesitate for 2 seconds, Lu Chenin leaned his thin lips toward me again. I quickly covered his lips, blushing as I protested. What are you doing? If you don't agree, I'll keep kissing you until you do. So, will you? You little heartbreaker, you've already taken my first kiss. Don't you want to take responsibility? My eyes widened as I punched Lu Chenin's shoulder hard. You're the one who kissed me, you little chubby. I'm the victim here. How dare you turn the tables on me? Lu Chenin smirked. Then why don't you kiss me back? In the end, I didn't refuse Lu Chenin. Admittedly, during these days spent together, there were moments when my heart fluttered for him, but the painful memories from my past life still linger. Once bitten, twice shy. Had Lu Chenin not taken the initiative, I'd probably have remained a coward. After our playful scuffle, we finally got back in the car. Lu Chenin made no effort to hide his displeasure at my decision to visit the hospital. His face darkened visibly while his hands clenched the steering wheel so tightly it creaked. Fine, I won't go alone, you're coming with me. Happy now? With a dismissive snort, Lu Chenin silently rerouted the GPS toward People's Hospital without another word. Half an hour later, we arrived outside the hospital room. Through the glass door, we could clearly see Song Liza clutching his head in apparent agony on the bed. What's wrong with him? I frowned in confusion. My right hand was suddenly seized in a vice-like grip that bordered on painful. Turning my head, I found myself staring directly into Lu Ken's intense gaze. The man wore a jealous expression, his downturned eyes radiating pitiful vulnerability. The nearby nurse glanced between Lu Ken and me, then at Song Liza in the hospital room. Her face alight with astonishment. Clearing his throat quietly, he added, Mr. Song's car accident last night resulted in head trauma. While not life-threatening, the blood clot pressing against his brain may affect neural functions and potentially cause memory confusion. Based on our observations, this condition may have already manifested. Honestly, that doesn't surprise me much. After all, I've already learned something far more shocking. Memory confusion isn't frightening. What's truly terrifying is Song Liza being reborn just like him. The mere thought of that man returning, the hatred I'd suppressed for so long came surging back, leaving my body trembling uncontrollably. Xiaoji, as I looked up, I saw Lu Chenin gazing at me with evident concern. Shaking my head, I turned to the nurse and asked, how long until the blood clot dissolves? The nurse nodded. Without surgery, recovery typically takes about a month. What about with surgery, Miss Jiang? The craniotomy does carry significant risks. The medical recommendation is conservative treatment to allow the hematoma to resolve naturally. I shot a frosty glance at Song Lisa inside the room, then scheduled the craniotomy immediately. The sooner the better. Cost is no object. I'll settle the payment shortly. Lucianen's chuckle reached my ears as I turned my head slightly. The man wore a faint smirk, looking utterly pleased with himself. When he noticed my gaze, he gave my fingers an affectionate squeeze, his expression softening. After the nurse left with a strange look on her face, we entered the hospital room. Hearing the noise, Song Lisa turned his attention toward the doorway. The next instant, Song Lisa clutched his forehead and erupted in fury. Jiangji, you shameless slut, how dare you two-time me? Ah, my head, it's killing me. He shook his head violently. You bitch, what are you still standing there for? Get your ass over here and massage me right now. I stared coldly without moving an inch. Lu Chenin seemed terrified I might actually approach, his hands clenched so tightly they ached. Listen up, Song, she's my girlfriend now. Quit playing dumb, your chance is gone. Got it. Lu Chenin beamed with smug satisfaction and planted a loud, smacking kiss right on my cheek in front of Song Lisa. Song Lisa erupted into furious screams. Jiangji, how dare you sneak around with another man when you're my girlfriend? I'm not dead yet. Get over here. Jiangji, let's go. No point talking to idiots. Lu Chenin tugged at me with a sullen expression. The hospital acted swiftly. After I kindly paid Song Lisa's craniotomy fee, they scheduled the surgery without hesitation. Naturally, I took great care in selecting the lead surgeon too. Made sure to generously pick the least experienced surgeon for Song Lisa. What a shame, the surgery actually turned out to be quite successful. A week after the operation, the hospital called me in. Lying in bed, Song Lisa was no longer consumed by helpless rage, appearing much more lucid. When I entered the ward, Song Lisa's expression flickered with emotion. Jiangji, have you come back too? I settled into a comfortable spot on the couch. Yes, I'm back. Song Lisa clenched his fists, lowering his head slightly. Though you died before me, I returned first this time. Now we're nothing to each other. Jiangji, why, didn't you love me? Watching Song Lisa's dazed expression, I burst into laughter. Are you asking why I'm refusing you this time? Why I won't keep slaving away for you anymore? Song Lisa froze, an uncharacteristic look of embarrassment flashing across his face. Pretending not to notice, I pressed on. Song Lisa, you're truly selfish. You abandoned everything to chase your so-called white moonlight, committing suicide on a whim. The world believes you died for Meng Yueqing's sake, while I was vilified as the homewrecker, publicly scorned. In the end, your fans were the death of me. What makes you think I'd still love you and sacrifice for you after 2 lifetimes? I'm sorry, Song Lisa said with a guilty expression. Can you forgive me? Without hesitation, I replied, no. Watching Song Lisa's pained expression, I suddenly wanted to twist the knife deeper. You were willing to die for Meng Yueqing. Now that you've been reborn, go chase your true love properly. Stay away from me, you're nothing but bad luck. Song Lisa's eyes lit up briefly before I continued coldly. Though fresh out of surgery, you might need help connecting the dots. Let me remind you, your precious moonlight abandoned you for being too poor, unworthy of her. She's abroad now. Each word struck like a dagger, plunging straight into Song Lisa's heart. Don't forget to pay me back for the surgery fee I covered for you. After that, Song Lisa never came looking for me again. I focused on my studies, spending my free time dating Lu Chenin. Our relationship was sweet and fulfilling. Before I knew it, Christmas arrived, and I had planned to take Lu Chenin out somewhere. In the end, we moved our date indoors due to the snowy weather. We washed and chopped vegetables together, planning to enjoy a steaming hot pot on this chilly winter night. Midway through dinner, Lu Chenin brought out a huge bouquet of flowers. Xiaoji, this isn't our first Christmas together, but it's our first Christmas with just the two of us, completely ours alone. We'll spend every Christmas together from now on. The doorbell suddenly rang, and I put down the large bouquet in my hands. As I was about to get up, Lu Chenin pressed my shoulder lightly and went to answer the door. When no sound came for quite a while, I rose suspiciously. What's going on? Who's at? Brother. What are you doing here? My freeloader brother Jiang Huai was standing at the doorway, locking eyes with Lu Chenin in a staring contest. When I spoke up, Jiang Huai clapped his hands dramatically. Well, Christmas Eve, candlelit dinner, roses. What a lovely surprise, you punk actually made a move on my sister. Even rabbits don't nibble the grass by their own burrow. Huai Jiang Huai shoved Lu Qinan away violently, shooting him a glare. Back off, don't touch me, we'll settle this later, you little punk. A few minutes later, Jiang Huai pulled up a chair and joined us. Only after taking a couple bites did he finally look our way. Alright, out with it, what's going on between you two? When did this start? Just as Lu Qinan opened his mouth, my brother cut him off with a glare. Xiaoji. Tell your brother the truth, did this bastard force you into this? No. I glanced at Lu Qinan, who was drenched in sweat, and shook my head. Then I gave Jiang Huai a proper account of what happened between me and Lu Qinan. Jiang Huai's expression softened slightly after hearing it. Still, he snorted and summoned Lu Qinan into another room. They didn't emerge until nearly 15 minutes later, the moment I stepped out. My gaze instantly locked onto the crimson stain at the corner of Lu Qinan's lips. Bro, Xiaoji, this punk took advantage of you behind my back. That's downright dishonorable. As his future brother-in-law, I had to teach him a lesson to establish authority. What if he bullies you later? Thanks, Gidge. Seeing my eyes inexplicably redden, Jiang Huai grew instantly frantic. No, Xiaoji, don't cry. I just don't want you getting hurt. This guy's been trouble since we were kids. You. Lu Qinan chimed in anxiously from the side. Xiaoji, I'm fine, please don't cry. I shook my head and buried my face in Jiang Huai's chest. No, big brother, I'm just touched. You're so good to me, given a second chance at life. No one knows how desperately I want to make up for the familial love I failed to give in my past life. In my previous life, I was blind to stay with Song Liza. Even my brother disapproved because he could see Liza never truly loved or cared for me. Yet I yelled at my brother to mind his own business. I can still remember the hurt in my brother's eyes that day, and to this day I feel guilty whenever I see him. Damn me. My brother always had my best interests at heart, but I was blind with foolishness, intoxicated by false love, trying to awaken a worthless soul with nothing but sincerity. After my brother found out about me and Lu Qinan, there was no way old man Jiang wouldn't hear about it eventually. On New Year's Day, we planned to make a trip back to Beijing. Compared to my brother's shock and anger about us being together, old Jiang seemed rather unfazed, or rather, pleased. To quote old Jiang, Lu grew up with you kids, so I know him inside out, and trusting Xiaoji to your care puts my mind at ease. When they asked about our wedding plans, before I could even voice my refusal, Lu Qinan cut in first. Uncle Jiang, we're in no hurry. Xiaoji's focusing on her studies right now. Besides, Brother Huai hasn't even settled down yet. We've got plenty of time. Jiang Huai, finding himself dragged into this unexpectedly, shoved a cake right into Lu Qianan's face. Just eat your food, always meddling in others' business, nosy much. Speaking of Jiang Huai, it's worth noting that in this lifetime, perhaps due to the absence of Feng Feifei's disruptive influence, his relationship with the Wu family heiress took an unexpected turn. The Wu family's eldest daughter, Wu Jinshu, was proud and headstrong, refusing to be tied down. Unlike the refined manners typical of Beijing's elite daughters, she played by her own rules, a straight shooter who loved and hated fiercely. If not for Feng Feifei's sudden appearance, I'd actually love Wu Jinshu to be my sister-in-law. She'd make a perfect match for my brother, both brilliant minds and stunning looks, not to mention their equally distinguished family backgrounds. In this lifetime, fate would intertwine these two strangers destined to be engaged. Rumor has it my brother met Wu Jinshu one evening while discussing business at a bar. Tipsy Wu Jinshu mistook my brother for a male escort and practically dragged him to a hotel, insisting on paying for his services overnight. Of course, Wu didn't get her way, but the incident became my future sister-in-law's lingering resentment. Rumor has it my brother's been avoiding extended stays in Beijing lately, otherwise my formidable sister-in-law would come charging after him. Their cat-and-mouse game continues, with no end in sight. We didn't return to Jiang City until after New Year's Day. With finals approaching, my coursework became heavier than usual. Only after finishing the day's tasks could I finally relax and check my phone. My expression turned icy when I saw 3 consecutive missed calls on my phone. A cold sneer escaped my lips as I read the newly popped-up message. Jiangji, after being back for days, I've been thinking, I really owe you an apology for the past. I'm in Jiang City now. Could I take you out to dinner? I deleted the text and headed out of campus, but before reaching the gates, a figure suddenly darted in front of me. Jiangji, why aren't you answering my messages or calls? I stared coldly at Song Liza, who'd lost all his former radiance, now just a disheveled shadow of himself, visibly drained. His family had always struggled financially, with his elderly mother constantly needing medication. Last time around, he could fully dedicate himself to showbiz only because I handled everything behind the scenes. After half a year scrambling in the entertainment industry now, he's barely getting occasional bit parts in productions. But special appearances don't come every day. And these meager earnings can't possibly cover his current expenses, unlike my past life where I smoothed things over for him behind the scenes and even begged my father's friend to sign Song Liza to their agency. Sure, Song Liza is undeniably handsome, but the entertainment industry is overflowing with good-looking people. Among these people, Song Liza is merely average at best. Without me now, he's already hit his ceiling. Who do you think you are? You call and I'm supposed to answer. I scoffed coldly. A flicker of embarrassment crossed Song Liza's face, but he quickly adopted a groveling tone. I'm sorry, Jiangji. I was just too worried, afraid something might have happened to you. What possible danger could I be in? Song Liza nodded eagerly. Right. I was overthinking things. Jiangji, let's talk over there. I've reserved us a table at Crystal Hotel. Sensing my hesitation, he added, we haven't had a proper catch-up since reuniting. And about last time, you arranging that surgery for me, I never got to thank you properly. Jiangji. 30 minutes later, I followed him into the private dining room he'd booked, surveying the lavish space. I chuckled. Private rooms at Crystal Hotel don't come cheap. This is quite the splurge. Song Liza thoughtfully pulled out the chair for me, saying, Jiangji, you deserve nothing but the best. I was momentarily speechless, responding only with a silent smile. When Song Liza tried to let me order, I crossed my arms and shook my head in refusal. Jiangji, I was utterly wrong before. You've always treated me the best. I owe you more than I can repay. I don't expect forgiveness, just that we don't become strangers. Okay, even a day as husband and wife creates lasting affection. There's no real animosity between us, only that I came to my senses too late. Song Liza, has Meng Yuqing truly abandoned you? My sudden outburst made Song Liza's carefully crafted mask of devotion crack visibly, but almost immediately, he recomposed himself and turned toward me with pained solemnity. Jiangji, how could you think of me like this? We were husband and wife after all, and we never even divorced before death came between us. Technically speaking, we're still married. Song Liza, after all these years together, I realize I never truly knew you. The man I faced was always a stranger. Besides, we're nothing to each other now. Stop trying to play the emotional card, it won't work, understand. I brushed off my knees, suddenly losing my appetite. Jiangji, where do you think you're going? I won't be joining this meal. Don't come looking for me again. Before my hand could reach the doorknob, a powerful force grabbed me from behind in a tight embrace. I screamed and shoved violently at Song Liza behind me. Let go of me, Song Liza. I won't let go, never again. Jiangji, my greatest regret was releasing your hand in our past life. Please give us another chance. I'll do anything to earn your forgiveness. Song Liza held me in a death grip, his lips frantically planting messy kisses behind my ears and along my neck. The sheer disparity in strength between men and women became painfully clear. My flailing punches and kicks were effortlessly caught by Song Liza before he pinned me down on the leather sofa. The sofa's icy surface sent shivers through my body as creeping dread began consuming me whole. As Song Liza began unbuttoning my clothes, I shouted furiously, Song Liza, this is rape, don't you know that? We're husband and wife. This is our marital duty. At that moment, Song Liza resembled a frenzied lion, his eyes bloodshot and burning with primal possessiveness as he stared at me. Jiangji, you're mine, let's have a baby. Okay, let's start over. You still love me, don't you? Song Liza, the only reason you're crawling back to me now is because your entertainment career crashed and burned. Without me, you'd still be a nobody. The moment I screamed those words, Song Liza froze mid-motion, his face twisted with humiliation, like I'd stripped away his last shred of dignity. Did you really think your past success was all your own doing? I pressed my advantage to buy more time. I'd already texted Lu Chenin on my way here about having dinner with Song Liza. I'd secretly gotten hold of my phone and triggered the emergency contact call. If Lu Chenin heard that conversation, he'd come rushing with backup immediately. You should know I'm the Jiang entertainment heiress. Do you have any idea how many connections my status opened for you in our past life? Without my backing, someone like you, utterly insignificant, would never have made it in showbiz. How could a rookie like you possibly land all those premium resources? No, that's not true. They valued me for who I am. You're lying, you must be lying, I sneered, systematically dismantling what little remained of his pathetic pride. Mang Yuqing never left the country because I took her grad school spot. She left because she rejected you. You're utterly worthless. The only reason you ever caught my eye was because I was blind back then. Get it? No, this can't be. You're lying to me, you. Song Liza clutched his head in agony. Just as I tried to shove him away while he was distracted, he suddenly grabbed me in a frenzied embrace. It's fine, I still have you. As long as you're mine, as long as you're carrying my child, I'll be Jiang Entertainment's son-in-law. The whole company will be mine. I can still make my comeback. A sudden noise came from the door, followed by a shout of "Open up now." The private room door swung open moments later, revealing Lu Qinan panting heavily in the doorway, his face etched with fear. Xiaoji, Song Liza clearly didn't anticipate this sudden turn of events, getting kicked aside by Lu Qinan in an instant. You, how could you? Before Song Liza could finish speaking, Lu Qinan's men pinned him to the ground. Who the hell are you? Let go. Get your hands off me. I'm calling the cops. Wrapping myself in Lu Qinan's jacket, I stood up with survivor's trembling relief. Qinan, thank you. Don't be ridiculous. You're my girl. If I can't be there when you're in danger. What kind of man would that make me? Only after pulling me into his embrace did Lu Qinan turn icy eyes towards Song Liza, who was still thrashing and shouting obscenities. Song, you've got some nerve making moves on my girl. Don't worry, prison time is guaranteed. The Lu family will make sure you rot behind bars. She's my wife, my lawful wife. Our relationship is legitimate. Jiang Ji, help me, for God's sake, help. Song Liza was dragged away. And soon the private room held only Lu Qinan and myself. After collecting myself slightly, I asked, Qinan, how did you get here so fast? A hint of embarrassment flashed across Lu Qinan's face as he adjusted my collar. After getting your text, I came straight to Crystal Hotel. I'm so glad I did, or I'd be drowning in regret right now. I nodded and pressed a kiss to the corner of Lu Qinan's lips. The man pulled me closer by the waist, deepening the kiss as our kiss ended. A sudden thought struck me and I glanced anxiously at Lu Qinan. What's wrong? His voice was husky as he traced the red marks on my neck, his eyes flickering with concern. About that call I just made, did you hear me? Lu Qinan nodded calmly, showing no particular surprise. So you know I'm Reborn? I do. The man looked at me with tenderness in his eyes. What exactly happened in your past life? Would you tell me? I had no intention of keeping secrets from Lu Qinan, so I told him everything. Only after finishing my story did I realize tears were streaming down my face. Xiaoji, I wish I'd come back sooner. It's not your fault. Besides, don't I have you now? I tilted my head thoughtfully, but in my past life, I never saw you again after I turned 15, when you suddenly reappeared in this lifetime and we met again. I was genuinely surprised. Lu Qinan narrowed his eyes. I wasn't actually supposed to return so soon. The plan was to come back a year later, but something inexplicable pulled me back. Song Liza was immediately taken to the police station by Lu Qinan's men. What I didn't anticipate was that Song Liza had another trick up his sleeve. Photos of me entangled with Song Liza were circulated at school, with hired trolls in the comments section viciously fueling rumors about my relationship with Lu Qinan. The trolls steered public opinion, unanimously vilifying Lu Qinan as a predator lusting after his own student. Lu Qinan suddenly found himself at the center of a storm. What started as forum gossip rapidly escalated into a full-blown online controversy, catching us completely off guard. Even Principal Wang couldn't withstand the pressure and approached Lu Qinan, subtly suggesting he make a public statement to clarify we weren't actually dating. What should we do? Maybe we could. Lu Qinan cut me off with a fierce kiss. I won't break up with you, not even pretend to. I came to Jiang University for you. If they won't allow this, then I'll leave. After finally winning your heart, this love deserves to be celebrated loudly. I want the whole world to know we're together. Lu Qinan's decision was beyond my influence. With characteristic decisiveness, he promptly resigned from Jiang University. He then flamboyantly created a Weibo account to announce our relationship, sharing our backstory with netizens. Our striking looks, this fairy tale romance, combined with his fearless devotion, quickly turned public opinion in our favor. We've also gained quite a following online. As for Song Liza, he faced trial during this period. He was sentenced to 3 years. While in detention, he kept demanding to see me. I didn't go. That door closed forever between us. I'll never see him again. What I never expected was Song Liza attempting suicide once more. He'd had suicidal thoughts before, but prison's harsh conditions made self-harm nearly impossible. This time, he succeeded. The suicide note he left behind was retrieved and delivered to me. Go ahead and read it. A yellowed old sheet of paper, where faded ink stains were still faintly visible. Jiangji, I'm gone, in our next life. May I arrive sooner, so you'll have no chance to refuse me. I love you, Jiangji. I scoffed twice before tossing the paper into the shredder. Song Li's really got his head in the clouds. Does he think second chances grow on trees? His love comes too cheap. I'll pass. Even if there were a third lifetime, I'd still keep my distance from him. Humph. That bastard still dares to try stealing you from me. Lu Chenin stood nearby, jealousy twisting his features as anger flushed his face. I burst out laughing. Relax, he's dead. Who could possibly take you away now? Then promote me from boyfriend to husband. I want marriage too. He already got to marry you once. Hell yes, let's get married tomorrow. End of text. Story 2. To test whether Wen Bian was truly loyal, his girlfriend drugged him with aphrodisiac and then quietly left. After the drug took effect, his face turned flushed, his breathing became heavy, and his frustrated eyes were wet, filled with uncontrollable lust. He said in a hoarse voice, Jian Rao, help me. His voice trembled slightly, and it strongly tugged at my heartstrings, but I just turned around, closed the door, ran to the bathroom, took out my phone, and called 110. I whispered, hello, my friend seems to have been drugged. Please come quickly. The address is outside the door. My childhood friend was still pleading pitifully, Jian Rao, since we were young, didn't you like me the most? How could you bear to see me suffer? He didn't know that liking him was something from my previous life. He also didn't know how miserable my end was in the previous life. In this life, how could I possibly repeat the same mistakes? Dong. There was a knock on the door. My body reacted faster than my mind. Before I could even think, I opened the door. Wen Bian was standing outside the door, his face flushed, breathing heavily and roughly. His eyes were blurred, his expression pained and frustrated, his eyes were wet. Even though he was trying his best to suppress it, the uncontrollable lust could still be seen. I was stunned. Wasn't this the scene from my previous life? Wen Bian said in a hoarse voice, Jian Rao, help me. His voice trembled as he spoke, and anyone could tell how hard he was enduring. His appearance of trying to restrain himself yet helplessly begging strongly tugged at my heartstrings. But after I came to my senses, scenes from my previous life flashed through my mind at high speed. It was as if someone was choking my throat, and I couldn't catch my breath for a long time. When Bian in front of me spoke again, Jian Rao, please help me. Okay. His voice, mixed with lust, pulled me back to reality. Before his hand could touch the back of my head, I immediately closed the door and ran into the bathroom. I quickly turned on the faucet, then took out my phone and dialed the police number. The call was quickly connected, and I whispered, is this 110? My friend seems to have been drugged. Please come quickly. The address is. When I came out of the bathroom, when Bian outside the door was still pleading pitifully, he slapped the door forcefully, his voice irritable and pitiful. Jian Rao, since we were young, didn't you like me the most? How could you have the heart to watch me suffer? Jian Rao, help me. I can't hold on any longer. His voice became hoarser and hoarser, his breathing more and more rapid. And the sound of slapping the door became softer and softer. It seemed that he really couldn't take it anymore, but I still sat firmly in the room, not willing to move a single step. When Bian didn't know that I had liked him in my previous life, he also didn't know how miserably I died after being forced to be his antidote out of worry in the previous life. 2. Cold sweat oozed from my palms. I reminded myself over and over again, Jian Rao, you must never repeat the same mistakes. When Bian, who had been quiet outside the door for a few minutes, became irritable again, he started ramming the door, trying to break in. I smashed a bottle of beer and tightly held the broken beer bottle, thinking that once he rushed in, I would stab him directly. In short, no matter what method I used, I didn't want to repeat the tragedy of my previous life. Why haven't the police come yet? Bang, 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 again and again, one sound after another. Even the wall slightly shook as the door frame was hit. Looking at the door that shook more and more with each impact, my heart was in my throat. Crash, the door was finally knocked open. Broken wood and shattered wood chips, mixed with falling wall plaster, spilled all over the floor. The door hung crookedly on the door frame, swaying creakily. When Bian's eyes were blood red as he walked towards me step by step, he mumbled incoherently, Jian Rao, don't be afraid, help me, it'll be over soon, and you'll feel good too. I was forced back into the corner, and I still couldn't avoid the distance between him and me shortening continuously. Finally, he came in front of me. I held half of the beer bottle in the direction of him, my voice filled with a thick sobbing tone. Wen Bien, don't come any closer, what do you want to do? I'm scared, if you come any closer, I won't be polite to you, step back, go back, please. Wen Bien had a strange smile on his face as he muttered to himself, Jian Rao, didn't you like me the most? How could you bear to hurt me? Right, help me, it'll be over soon. As he spoke, he reached out and grabbed my collar, trying to tear my clothes, and I also seized the opportunity. The sharp glass of the beer bottle was aimed at his lower abdomen, the moment my clothes were roughly torn open. I finally heard the siren at the door. Immediately after, I saw the police running towards me. Wen Bien, however, seemed to hear nothing, his face pressed down towards me, trying to kiss me. At this moment, I unceremoniously grabbed half of the beer bottle and sent the sharp glass into his lower abdomen, and even gave it a hard twist. Blood spurted out, flowing down the bottle onto my hand and dripping onto the floor. I seemed to clearly hear the sound of blood hitting the floor. Ah, ah, ah. When Bien's screams rang out, I quickly let go of my hand, covered my chest, and squatted on the ground, crying loudly. Wen Bien, what are you trying to do? I didn't mean to. The police quickly stepped forward. After controlling Wen Bien, they quickly grabbed a coat and put it on me. He comforted me softly. It's okay, little girl, it's okay, you're safe now. I leaned on the police officer and cried my eyes out. The tightly wound string in my heart finally relaxed. I thought to myself, Yu Xinxin, let's see how you play this out next. Yu Xinxin was Wen Bien's girlfriend, whom he doted on to the extreme. It was she who drugged Wen Bien, then made an excuse to leave, and specifically left me in the holiday villa, just to test whether Wen Bien could be loyal. 3. I stayed at the police station to make a statement, while Wen Bien was taken to the hospital to bandage his wounds and undergo a physical examination. After his blood test report came out, the police began to investigate the people who were with us. I closed my eyes and rested in the lounge, recalling the events of my previous life. In my previous life, after the noise outside the door stopped, I was extremely worried, afraid that Wen Bien was in danger. I opened the door to check, but this turned out to be Wen Bien's trap. He knew that I had liked him since I was a child and would definitely be worried about his safety and opened the door to check. As soon as I opened the door, Wen Bien suddenly rushed in. His strength was terrifying. He pressed me onto the bed, tore my clothes, and took whatever he wanted from me. It was over an hour before he let out a low growl and stopped his actions. At this time, I was covered in bruises all over my body from his roughness. Just then, Yu Xinxin suddenly rushed in with the few people who had left. Looking at the messy scene in the room, Yu Xinxin broke down and cried, Wen Bien, Jian Rao, you two adulterers. Have you no shame? Yu Xinxin turned to run, but Wen Bien took big steps forward, grabbed her arm, pulled her back, and held her tightly in his arms. Wen Bien carefully kissed the tears sliding down Yu Xinxin's cheeks, looking extremely guilty. Xinxin, it's not what you think, really, I can explain. Jian Rao is just a tool for me to relieve my desires. I don't know what happened to me. I must have been possessed by a demon to have such lustful thoughts, or it's Jian Rao. Maybe she did something to me, so I lost my mind. Yes, that's it, it must be like that. 4. I sat on the bed in shock, already ashamed of being caught. I was completely dumbfounded in the face of the sudden accusation. I instinctively defended myself. It's not me, I didn't do it, I don't know. But no one was willing to listen to my defense. They all stared at me with malicious eyes, as if I were some dirty thing. Jian Rao, I really didn't expect you to be so shameless. Knowing that Bien and Xinxin are a couple, you still seduce Bien and take the initiative to climb into his bed. What? Are you really that starved for a man? How about I introduce a couple to you so you can have a good time? With her eager look, 2 are definitely not enough, 20 might be more like it. They spoke one after another, and their filthy words almost tore me to pieces. When Bien turned a blind eye to this and focused on coaxing Yu Xinxin. Xinxin, that limited edition bag you like, how about I buy it for you? I'll take you to meet my parents, let's get engaged as soon as possible. Okay, Yu Xinxin proposed one condition after another. Only after getting enough benefits did she stop crying and start smiling. Her anger shifted to me. Jian Rao, she did such a shameless thing, shouldn't she apologize to me? seeing that Yu Xinshin had let something slip. Wen Bian immediately agreed. He grabbed my arm, dragged me off the bed, and pulled me in front of Yu Xinshin, forcing me to kneel in front of her and apologize. He didn't even care that I hadn't had time to get dressed properly because of everyone's sudden intrusion. The blue-purple marks on my body were exposed in front of everyone, and they sneered, "Jian Rao, I didn't know you liked such kinky things." After humiliating me enough, Yu Xinshin and Wen Bian left in an embrace, leaving me alone. At a loss, my heart was like dead ashes. Because I was too ashamed to speak up, I didn't even dare to call the police and could only pretend that this incident had never happened. From that day on, I completely distanced myself from Wen Bian and hid alone to heal my wounds, but they wouldn't let me go. One day, Wen Bian sent me a message, asking me to go out. He said, "Jian Rao, I want to apologize to you," to give myself an explanation. I chose to go to the appointment. But what I didn't expect was that this was simply a well-planned trap by him. 5. In order to show that he had no feelings for me, Wen Bian asked me out in the name of apologizing, tricked me into drinking a drugged drink, and threw me into a wild orgy party. He also bribed reporters to report on this matter extensively, taking a lot of photos and even videos. Everyone's faces were blurred except mine. I was insulted one after another but knew nothing about it. When I woke up, the news was already all over the place. In the news photos, my face was clearly visible. Overnight, I became infamous. I went crazy looking for Wen Bian and questioned him why he treated me like this. "Wen Bian, what exactly did I do to you that I'm sorry for? Why are you trying to harm me like this? Is it only when I'm dead that you'll let me go?" Wen Bian looked impatient. "Die? Are you saying you want to commit suicide? Who are you trying to scare? If you really wanted to die, you would have died long ago. Besides, what's the big deal? You were just slept with by a few people and took a few photos, right? I slept with you too. Just think of those people as me, okay? Even celebrities have sex tape scandals. Just think of it as you enjoying the treatment of a celebrity." Yu Xinshin also sneered and said, "Jian Rao, last time I definitely couldn't satisfy you alone. I wonder if you had a good time this time. Do you know what this is called? This is retribution, your retribution." I stared at Wen Bian firmly. "Last time, it was clearly you who tricked me into opening the door and forced yourself on me." Before I could finish speaking, he waved his hand to interrupt me. He said disdainfully, "Jian Rao, who would believe that? Everyone knows that you've liked me since you were a child. If I wanted to sleep with you, would I need to trick you and use force?" His contemptuous eyes stunned me, and Yu Xinshin laughed even louder. My dignity was trampled under their feet and rubbed hard. In the end, I couldn't stand the whole network mockery and committed suicide by cutting my wrists in the bathtub. On the day I died, reports of Wen Bian and Yu Xinshin's engagement were overwhelming. Speaking of which, Wen Bian's parents' acceptance of Yu Xinshin was actually my credit. Wen Bian's parents had been trying hard to make me and Wen Bian. They looked down on Yu Xinshin very much, but I was exposed to a huge scandal. They felt ashamed of their son, so they gave in on the marriage matter and fulfilled this pair of lovers. They finally got married with everyone's blessings, while I carried a dirty name and returned to the underworld. The more I thought about it, the more excited I became. The overwhelming hatred was about to drown me. At this time, Yu Xinshin's panicked voice came from the entrance of the police station. "Police officer, what happened to my boyfriend? What's going on?" 6. It turned out that in order to find out the cause and effect of the case, Yu Xinshin and the others who had left halfway were all found and summoned to the police station. Wen Bian was drugged. "We called you here to get a preliminary understanding of the situation." After the police officer finished speaking, Yu Xinshin visibly panicked. "Drugged? How is that possible?" I walked to the door of the lounge, wanting to see her expression at this moment. The moment our eyes met, she immediately got an idea. "It's her. It's Jian Rao. It must be Jian Rao. She's always been coveting my boyfriend, but my boyfriend has no feelings for her at all. She must have drugged my boyfriend with aphrodisiac, just to make my boyfriend lose control so that my boyfriend will be responsible for her." Yu Xinshin couldn't wait to push all the blame onto me and didn't notice the change in the police officer's expression. "Yu Xinshin, right," the police officer said seemingly casually. "How do you know that your boyfriend was drugged with aphrodisiac? We didn't tell you that. How do you know?" Yu Xinshin realized that she had let something slip due to fear and visibly panicked. She was directly invited to the interrogation room and stammered to defend herself. "Well, I guessed it. Jian Rao has always had ill intentions towards my boyfriend. She must have drugged him with aphrodisiac to blackmail my boyfriend into being responsible for her. Police officer, believe me, I really guessed it. My intuition has always been very accurate. It must be that shameless slut Jian Rao. You should arrest her quickly. She kept biting me. And the others who came out to play together were already terrified when they saw the situation getting serious. They spilled the beans and told everything they knew before the police could interrogate them. Police officer, it has nothing to do with us. We were just on a team-building trip from a project group. Yu Xinshin said that she drugged Wen Bian to test whether he could be loyal to her. Yes, and Wen Bian and Jian Rao are childhood friends. Yu Xinshin has always been jealous. So she deliberately left Jian Rao in the villa. Yes, she also said that even if Wen Bian couldn't control himself, as long as she showed up in time to catch him in the act, Wen Bian would compensate her well out of guilt. She said that as long as we cooperated, she would thank us well. We didn't collude with her, we just didn't have the nerve to call the police. It turned out that, whether in the previous life or this life, they weren't unaware of the truth. They just bowed down to Yu Xinshin's sugar-coated bullets. Now that the matter had blown up and they could see that they were about to be implicated, they all ran away quickly. The group of people who had helped Yu Xinshin accuse and humiliate me in the previous life now all stood on the opposite side of Yu Xinshin. In order to exonerate themselves, they all, without prior consultation, desperately shifted the blame onto Yu Xinshin. After all, they could tell the difference between sugar-coated bullets and a crime, and they knew which was more serious. As soon as the police heard this, they immediately knew that Yu Xinshin was highly suspected. She was detained on the spot, and the remaining people were also kept behind because of the suspicion of being accomplices. Yu Xinshin kicked up a fuss. Where's Ian? Where's my boyfriend? He's the victim. He won't hold me accountable. You can't arrest me. She knew very well that at this moment, Wen Bian was her last hope. Unfortunately, Wen Bian was stabbed by me and was still in the hospital receiving treatment. Although Wen Bian couldn't come, I invited 2 other people related to Wen Bian, 7, who drugged my son, a shrill female voice came, and Wen Bian's mother arrived. Behind her were Wen Bian's father and their family lawyer. As soon as Yu Xinshin saw these 2 people, her legs immediately went weak. I understood what she was afraid of. She really wanted to marry Wen Bian, but if the Wen family knew that she had drugged Wen Bian, then marrying Wen Bian would just be a dream for her. Wen Bian's mother locked her eyes on Yu Xinshin, strode over, and gave her 2 hard slaps on both sides of her face. She's clearly not a good person. It's bad enough that she seduced my son, but she even dared to drug him. Police officer, you must investigate her thoroughly. Who knows what kind of low-life people she's associated with. She might even be trying to murder him for his money. Yu Xinshin's face immediately turned pale. Auntie, please listen to me. It wasn't me. It really wasn't me. It was Jian Rao. It was Jian Rao who did it. At this time, Yu Xinshin still didn't forget to frame me, but she was retorted by Wen Bian's mother. Rao grew up under my watch, and she's the daughter-in-law I approve of. If she wanted to sleep with my son, I would even wash my son clean and send him to her bed overnight. Tell me, where would she need such despicable means? Yu Xinshin was taken away and detained, and the scene finally quieted down. When Bian's mother reached out and hugged me, looking full of chagrin, she apologized to me. Rao, were you scared? I'll ask your uncle Wen to break Wen Bian's legs later to vent your anger. This brat. How dare he treat you like that? Uncle Wen also said to me, I'll definitely make Wen Bian apologize to you properly later. However, instead of waiting for the apology, I received Wen Bian's accusation. 8. After learning that Yu Xinshin was detained, despite the wound on his lower abdomen, Wen Bian quickly rolled off the hospital bed. He pointed at my nose and cursed. Jian Rao, what do you mean? Why did you send Xinshin to the police station? The person who almost hurt you was me, not Xinshin. Why are you causing trouble for her? Xinshin is a girl, and she's been locked up in there for a whole day and night. I don't know how scared she must be. No, I have to go and save her. As he spoke, he pulled out the infusion needle on the back of his hand and was about to run out. Uncle Wen couldn't stand it anymore and slapped him hard, knocking him down on the hospital bed. Seeing this, I held back my nausea and tried to persuade him. Uncle Wen, stop hitting him. It's all my fault. I meddled in things that weren't my business, but at that time, I saw that Wen Bian's condition was clearly not right. I was worried that something might go wrong with his body and that he would miss the best treatment opportunity, so I called the police for help. Mentioning this, Wen Bian's mother threw a stack of test reports in Wen Bian's face. You can't tell right from wrong. Take a good look. See how harmful that drug is to the body. If you had taken more of it, you would have already had kidney failure by now. Rao Rao saved you out of kindness. It's bad enough that you don't appreciate it, but you even dare to scold her. I think you really need a good beating. Apologize to Rao Rao, not just for today's matter, but also for that day. How could you have set your sights on Rao Rao? If the police hadn't arrived in time, the consequences would have been unimaginable. Wen Bian turned his face away and mumbled in a low voice, what consequences could there be? Jian Rao has always liked me, even if I did something to her. Wouldn't she be happy? Uncle Wen was so angry when he heard this that he raised his arm again. Wen Bian put on a pitiful expression. Dad, if you want to hit me, go ahead, but you must help me get Xin out, otherwise, I'll tell the police that I took the drug voluntarily and that none of this has anything to do with Xin. I don't believe that you would just stand by and watch me go to jail. Mom and Dad, it was Jian Rao who hurt me. Not only do you not speak up for me, but you're even taking her side. I'm your biological son. Xin is your future daughter-in-law. Jian Rao is just an outsider. But before Uncle Wen's slap could land, Wen Bian was brutally punched and kicked by a black figure that rushed out. His nose and mouth were bleeding, and he saw stars. He was staggering and couldn't even stand steadily. I took a closer look and saw that my dad had come. As soon as I saw my family member, my tears couldn't be held back any longer and flowed down like a burst dam. Dad, I cried and threw myself into his arms. Why did you come so late? I'm so scared. Dad, my dad held my shoulders and looked me up and down several times. After confirming that I wasn't injured, he hugged me tightly. While patting my back to soothe my emotions, he said sternly, Wen Bian, this is attempted rape, isn't it? You still can't say anything decent. I'm telling you, I'm going to send you to jail and make sure you serve a long sentence. The Wen family's parents knew they were in the wrong and didn't dare to speak up too much for Wen Bian. Uncle Wen shouted angrily, Wen Bian, apologize now. Wen Bian reluctantly said sorry. My dad was so angry that he laughed instead. Is that an apology? Seeing this, Uncle Wen kicked Wen Bian in the back of his knee. Wen Bian was caught off guard, and his knee hit the ground heavily, making him kneel right in front of me. His eyes turned red from the pain. He was full of resentment but didn't dare to say anything. My dad protected me behind him and said, just kneeling isn't enough. It can't be that easy. Let me say it again. I've already reported Wen Bian for attempted rape. Everything will be decided by the court. Wen Bian panicked instantly. Mom and Dad, I won't really be arrested and sent to jail, will I? I don't want to go. I don't want to go. 9. My dad took me away. Since the Wen family's parents knew they were in the wrong, they didn't dare to stop us. They could only watch as my dad and I gave Wen Bian a good beating and then left with our heads held high. They had already felt sorry for Wen Bian being drugged, and seeing their son in such a bewitched state. They naturally hated you Xin to the core. No matter how much Wen Bian made a fuss, they refused to let you Xin go. However, with their efforts, Wen Bian wasn't detained and stayed outside to recuperate from his injuries. Wen Bian couldn't persuade his parents and secretly came to me. Jian Rao, I really don't understand. Why do you have to pursue this? What's there for you to pursue? I didn't do anything to you. Besides, you stabbed me. If anyone should pursue this, it should be me holding you accountable, right? Moreover, if I had agreed to sleep with you, shouldn't you be happy? What are you playing at now? I took a deep breath and once again confirmed the fact that Wen Bian was mentally ill. I took a moment to calm down and then kicked him hard in his still unhealed lower abdomen, because I put all my strength into that kick. His wound was torn open by me, and the bright red blood quickly soaked through his clothes. I squatted down on the ground far away, holding my head, and shouted loudly, Don't come near me, Wen Bian, don't come near me. I looked so terrified as if I had been greatly stimulated. My dad rushed over in a hurry. Seeing this, he immediately had the people throw Wen Bian, who was screaming and clutching his stomach, out. When Wen Bian's parents arrived and saw Wen Bian's pitiful state, and then thought about the reasons behind my actions, they not only didn't blame me but also apologized to me in various ways. Rao Rao, Ian wasn't in his right mind. Please forgive him. My dad was furious and asked with his neck stuck out, Forgive him? How else do you want us to forgive him? I didn't directly beat him to death, and my daughter didn't stab him to death. Isn't that forgiving him? When Bian's parents left in disgrace, I was also very annoyed. I should have stabbed him deeper at the beginning so that he wouldn't be able to come and pester me so soon. Looking at Wen Bian's miserable appearance, the Wen family's parents hated Yu Xinshin even more. Under the pressure from the Wen family's parents, the case was soon put on trial. Yu Xinshin was sentenced to 4 months in prison for buying and selling controlled drugs, drugging someone, although no serious consequences had occurred. In addition, since Wen Bian had issued a letter of forgiveness, she received this relatively light sentence. Although Wen Bian was the one who had committed violence, he was also the victim in this case, and his behavior and consciousness weren't his true intentions. He only needed to provide me with economic compensation. After thinking about it, I convinced my dad to accept the judgment result. Anyway, it wasn't possible for them to pay a heavier price for this matter. It was better to let them out earlier so that I could get my revenge on them sooner. After all, I really wanted to get rid of the two of them, and I really didn't want to wait too long. I had to think carefully about what exactly I should do. 10. During these 4 months, in order to make Wen Bian forget about Yu Xinshin, Wen Bian's parents introduced many girls to him. There were sexy girls, cute girls, fit girls, and intellectual girls. They came in all shapes and sizes. They hoped that one of them would catch Wen Bian's eye and pull their son back from the brink. Unfortunately, their wish wasn't fulfilled. I had already spread the news that Wen Bian had been drugged by his girlfriend and had almost made a big mistake, yet he still doted on his girlfriend. Their past love stories were well known in the circle. As soon as people heard Wen Bian's name, they ran away quickly, even if they had to meet Wen Bian out of courtesy. They would just do it perfunctorily to deal with their parents. However, it was inevitable that some girls would secretly bring up the relevant matter and ask him why he liked someone who had drugged him. At first, with the hope that others could understand him, Wen Bian would tell them about his past love stories with Yu Xinshin. When I first met her, I casually said that I was hungry. Instead of taking me to an upscale restaurant to spend money, she took me back to her home and cooked me a bowl of instant noodles herself. You know, she was the first girl who was willing to cook for me. Even my mom has never cooked noodles for me herself. That bowl of noodles made me feel the taste of home. He talked on, but the girls were all left speechless. The way they looked at Wen Bian became strange. Indeed, with such deep feelings, if people didn't know better, they would think that Yu Xinshin had saved Wen Bian's life. It was all because of a bowl of noodles. It was really hard to understand. It could only be said that like attracts like, Wen Bian would also tell them, Xinshin is in jail because I'm useless, I couldn't protect her. It's also because Jian Rao is being unrelenting and insisting on causing trouble. Clearly, she's fine, but she won't let us go. If it weren't for her calling the police, there wouldn't be so many problems. The girls' views on right and wrong were completely shattered. Gradually, the news that Wen Bian might be mentally ill spread, and everyone looked at him with curiosity. Compared with others, Wen Bian thought that other women were all mediocre and only Yu Xinshin could understand him. Only Yu Xinshin was his destined other half. He wholeheartedly waited for Yu Xinshin to be released from prison so that they could rekindle their relationship. Wen Bian's parents were so worried about this that their hair turned white. The short 4 months passed quickly, and Yu Xinshin was about to be released from prison. Wen Bian wanted to pick Yu Xinshin up from prison in person, but his parents stopped him and locked him at home. This was exactly the opportunity one needed. 11. Yu Xinshin, who was sitting opposite me, was full of hostility. Jian Rao, did you come here to laugh at me? I shook my head and put on a sincere expression. Of course not. You know that I've liked Wen Bian since I was a child. Only when he's happy can I be happy. Yu Xinshin asked me suspiciously what I meant. I said seriously, Wen Bian will only be happy when he's with you, so, I'm here to help you. I'll help you be with Wen Bian. She was half believing and half doubting but didn't interrupt me. I continued on my own. Actually, Wen Bian's parents oppose your relationship not because they don't like you as a person, but because there's too big a gap between you and Wen Bian. You can't become better overnight. But if Wen Bian is willing to sacrifice himself a bit and become less outstanding, especially if his flaws are known to everyone, then his parents won't be able to pick on you anymore. Right? I stopped speaking there, and Yu Xinshin's eyes immediately lit up. Wen Bian's parents could stop him for a while, but they couldn't stop him forever. Soon, Wen Bian and Yu Xinshin still found an opportunity to meet. Yu Xinshin used the same old trick and took Wen Bian to a party. The very party where I was insulted in my previous life. She arranged for reporters to sneak into the party in advance and took many astonishing photos. A few days later, the news was reported. the explosive content quickly spread on the internet. In the mosaicked photos, Wen Bian's face was clearly visible. The news of the son of the boss of Wen's group participated in an orgy party quickly fermented, bringing a fatal blow to Wen's group, which specialized in wedding business. Wen Bian became infamous overnight and, under the reinforce of tabloids, became a well-known lecher. Wen Bian's parents were in a hurry and reported the case overnight, saying that their son had been tricked into such a place. The spearhead was directly pointed at Yu Xinxin. The police quickly raided this stronghold and found a large number of contraband items used for entertainment. Among them was the same drug that Yu Xinxin had given Wen Bian last time. According to the confessions of those people, Yu Xinxin had not only bought the drug that one time. Some drugs could make girls fall into a coma and have no memory afterwards, and some could make men lose control of their animal instincts. She not only sold drugs but also once helped others bring many drugged girls here and earned a certain amount of money from it. Yu Xinxin was arrested again in accordance with the law and was sentenced to 3.5 years in prison 2 months later. Despite the facts in front of him, Wen Bian still refused to believe. He always firmly believed that all of this was framed on Yu Xinxin by his parents and me. In his eyes, Yu Xinxin was a perfect and pure girl. He vowed to fight against us villains to the end. He said that he must wait for Yu Xinxin to be released from prison and that he still wanted to be with her. He said that their love was unbreakable. Wen Bian's parents even suspected that he had mental problems and tied him up to be treated in a mental hospital, but he secretly ran away, and no one knew where he had gone. In order to save the business of the family enterprise, Wen Bian's father announced the deprivation of Wen Bian's shares in the enterprise, and the enterprise was taken over and managed by his eldest daughter, Wen Bian's half-sister Wen Bieji. After taking over, Wen Bieji quickly took a series of measures to restore the corporate image, including but not limited to completely separating the family enterprise from the other 3 members of the Wen family now. Wen Bian's father originally disagreed, but after a series of irresponsible actions by Wen Bian, he also acquiesced. His mother was immersed in the pain of not knowing where her son was every day and couldn't care about anything else at all. Wen Bieji took the opportunity to quickly complete the transfer of equity and family property. From then on, Wen Bian was completely kicked out of the family enterprise. 12. Wen Bian, who had secretly run away, found a job to support himself. He worked while waiting for Yu Xinxin to be released from prison. He wanted his family to see that his choice was not wrong. He also wanted Yu Xinxin to see that for her sake. He was willing to break with his family and endure any hardship. To my surprise, Wen Bian actually endured for more than 3 years. At first, when he went to visit Yu Xinxin in prison, she was so touched that she cried with tears in her eyes. But after she was finally released from prison, when she saw Wen Bian's living conditions, she frowned without any concealment. You, a young master, live in such a place. Wen Bian thought Yu Xinxin felt sorry for him and said attentively, Xinxin, it's worth enduring any hardship for you. But Yu Xinxin raised her voice, I mean, you, a young master, let me live with you in such a place and live such a life. How can you have the nerve? Obviously a rich young master, but you have to endure hardship for no reason. Are you out of your mind? Yu Xinxin forced Wen Bian to go back to the Wen family to ask for money, but was turned away. I don't know how Wen Bieji persuaded them. Her father had already taken Wen Bian's mother to live overseas last year. Yu Xinxin said righteously, Wen Bian is also of Wen family blood. He should have a share of the family property, right? Unfortunately, the Wen family's property had already been transferred to Wen Bieji's name. She and Wen Bian didn't have the same mother and had not grown up together since childhood, so naturally they had no feelings. Moreover, she hated those who were muddle-headed and love struck the most. Wen Bian had caused such a commotion that almost destroyed Wen's group and the foundation of her good life. How could she give Wen Bian a good look? So, Wen Bian and Yu Xinxin were kicked out. Yu Xinxin was not discouraged and persistently urged Wen Bian to come back to ask for money every now and then. Gradually, she became disappointed and no longer had a good attitude towards Wen Bian. Waste, good for nothing. You can't even grab a share of the family property, 6,000 yuan a month. What can you do with that? You're really useless. These curses showed that Wen Bian's persistence over the past 3 years was like a huge joke. He came to the Wen family again. When Bieji was holding a wedding, she married a financial talent of equal status. The wedding was grand and romantic. He saw his parents but didn't dare to go up and say hello. He turned around and fled in embarrassment. After walking a long way, he looked back again. He returned to his small rental house, but there were blushing sounds coming from inside. He wasn't as angry as he imagined, but sat outside the door quietly waiting. After waiting for a long time, a man came out with his pants in his hands. Seeing Wen Bian at the door, the man was not embarrassed at all. Instead, he took out 1,000 yuan in cash from his briefcase and threw it in front of Wen Bian. The man said, "Brother, I cuckolded you, but not for nothing. Take this money. Consider it as me buying your wife once, but when I met her, you were just a kid who hadn't even grown up yet." When Bian looked at the cash in front of him and listened to the man's words, he didn't know what it felt like in his heart. He walked into the room. It was in a mess and smelled of the entanglement of men and women, which was disgusting. His eyes fell on the spots on the bedsheet, and he suddenly laughed self-deprecatingly. When Bian said softly, Xin, what have my efforts and waiting over the years been for?" Hearing the movement, Yu Xin didn't look back and just sorted out her clothes on her own. When Bian, are you crazy? You waited for me, and you had to cut off relations with your family to wait for me. Did you really think you could make a name for yourself? Couldn't you just be a young master and wait for me to come out? Self-pitying and crazy. If it weren't for the fact that you had some money before, how could I have taken a fancy to you? As she spoke, she walked outside. Since you found out, I won't pretend anymore. I see that the Wen family won't recognize you anymore, and I don't want to live such a poor life with you. Brother Wang has invited me. I'm going first. I probably won't come back either. Live this kind of life by yourself slowly. 13. When Bian finally understood at this moment that no matter which side he was on, he lived like a joke. His self-esteem had made him persist for 3 years, but it was trampled to pieces by Yu Xin. His anger surged, and he only felt infinite despair. He didn't have the face to go back to the Wen family anymore. He thought that life was quite meaningless, so he reached out and grabbed Yu Xin, who was walking outside, and dragged her back into the house. Then, he picked up a kitchen knife. His appearance of trying to restrain himself yet helplessly begging strongly tugged at my heartstrings. The guests were full, and it was grand, romantic, and very decent. He thought that his life should have been like this originally, right? He thought of me, later. He laughed self-deprecatingly. How could he still have a life? When Bian raised the kitchen knife again and aimed it at his carotid artery, later, based on the tip-off from the masses, the police found 2 corpses in a residential house. The man killed the woman with random knife strikes and then committed suicide, according to the descriptions of the surrounding neighbors. The woman had multiple extramarital affairs. The police suspected it was a crime of passion. The police contacted Wen Bieji. When Bieji dealt with the aftermath perfunctorily and didn't let her father and her step-mother know. Anyway, he had been missing for so many years. Why add to their troubles? I looked at the person outside the car window who called himself Brother Wang and handed him a stack of money. Compliments and words of thanks came out of his mouth. Boss, if there's such a thing in the future, you can still come to me. Leaving aside other things, I, Brother Wang, am definitely good at seducing these women. I said nothing and started the car to leave. I knew that when Bian would feel like a huge joke because of Yu Xin's betrayal. I knew that he wouldn't go back to his parents for help and would only have the intention of death. In my previous life, I liked him for so long. I knew him better than he knew himself. It's just that he never knew. The deep love I had for him that he trampled on finally became the axe that fell from above his head and the sharp sword that pierced through his chest, ending his life and getting justice for me. Story 2. I went back to the day he confessed his feelings to me. The boy was wearing a white shirt, his eyes soft as he said, I like you. A second later, I heard his true thoughts. Believe that. Disgusting. The cicadas were loud on the camphor trees, and the people around us were cheering, though it was more like they were watching a joke unfold. Someone nearby whistled and laughed. Zhou Xiao's tastes seem a bit mild lately. The boy in the white shirt ignored them, standing in front of me with tender eyes. The sunlight filtered through his shoulders, making him look like a prince from a fairy tale. Zhou Jiashu leaned against the handle of my bicycle, bending down to look at me. His warm breath touching my face, he said, Song Ji Wei, I like you. I saw my reflection in his eyes, a frail girl hidden under an oversized school uniform, slightly anemic. That was me at 17. I was still stunned, my face undoubtedly flushed and my fingertips trembling. After all, this was Zhou Jiashu, the boy I had secretly adored for so long. Before I could blurt out I like you too, I heard the pure-hearted boy's inner voice. Believe that. Disgusting. I paused for a moment. then looked up at Zhou Jiaxu in front of me. He was smiling tenderly, showing no sign of the disgust hidden deep inside. He confidently waited for my response. Since everyone at Nanqing knew I was head over heels for him, I pursed my lips, took a step back, and said with a trembling voice, "Sorry, I don't like you." Zhou Jiaxu's face turned ugly just as a prominent white-haired boy casually passed by, looking as if he hadn't noticed the drama unfolding. I knew him. He was the school bully and Zhou Jiaxu's arch-rival. Pointing at the white-haired bully, I told Zhou Jiaxu, "I prefer that type, you understand." I grabbed the handle of my bicycle and shook it. "So, Zhou Jiaxu, step aside." Zhou Jiaxu was probably baffled, not understanding how the girl who only had eyes for him a second ago was now telling him to get lost. He stiffly placed his hand on my bike's handle, a strong sense of unease in his expression, and pressed his lips together as he asked, "What's wrong?" Boys naturally have more strength than girls, and with him holding it, I couldn't move my bicycle at all. Sweat ran anxiously down my forehead, but then suddenly, someone took the handle from me with one hand, easily breaking free from Zhou Jiaxu's grip. "Didn't you hear? She told you to get lost." The voice was cold and slightly hoarse. I looked up to see the school bully's profile. His superior features and short silver-white hair glistening in the light, looking incredibly cool. The next second, I heard the school bully's panicked inner voice, "Damn, she's looking at me." The school bully rescued me from Zhou Jiaxu's confession, pushing my pink bicycle forward, as some younger students teased him. "Qingqi, when did you stop riding motorcycles?" He kicked one of them and cursed, "Get lost." I walked beside him, feeling nervous, and mustered the courage to speak. "School bully, Qingqi." I paused for a moment before realizing he was telling me his name. He looked down slightly and asked softly, "Do you like me?" I instinctively wanted to shake my head but then heard his sinister inner thought, "Those who use me as a shield end up encased in concrete." My head quickly turned, and I nodded emphatically several times. Qingqi has eyes that resemble peach blossoms, which now curve into a smile as he stops walking, frees his hand to touch my face, and gently taps the mole below my eye with his thumb. He speaks leisurely, "From now on, you'll do my homework, come watch my basketball games, and walk me to school. Treat me like you did Zhou Jiaxu, but 10 times better, got it?" I was a bit confused and asked, "What do you mean by that?" He condescendingly patted my face, "It means I'm letting you chase after me." Qingqi, with his dyed silver hair and earrings, looks like someone who's hard to please written all over his face. Suddenly, I feel like maybe I'm better off going back and continuing the battle with Zhou Jiaxu. I followed the familiar path back home. This area is filled with villas. I wasn't brought back from the countryside until I was 17. At that age, I didn't understand many things, like why my mother was the first wife. Yet I had a half-sister, Songji, who was a few months older than me. Everyone liked Songji, including Zhou Jiaxu. Zhou Jiaxu and Songji were childhood sweethearts. Even his initial kindness towards me was to persuade me to donate a kidney to her. If it weren't for Songji's illness, the Song family would never have thought to bring me back. To them, I wasn't a person, but a remedy. But now, their intentions hadn't yet been revealed. Songji, who was recuperating at home, was watering the garden. Hearing me enter, she looked up and smiled gently. "You're back late. We've already had dinner." It didn't matter to me. I didn't have the privilege to dine at the table anyway. Zhou Jiaxu confessed his feelings to me today. Her watering can suddenly dropped to the ground, splashing water on her face. She forced a smile. "Really, I wish you well." Surprised, I raised an eyebrow. Of course, I didn't accept. How could he be worthy of me? In that moment, I was overwhelmed by numerous spiteful and hateful thoughts, all coming from the usually kind Songji, a mere kidney donor, not grateful to us. How dare you speak like that? Jiaxu only told me he would get close to Songji Wei. He didn't say he'd confess his feelings for her. She must have seduced him. "Songji Wei, have you looked in the mirror? So ugly and flat." I smiled wryly, thinking they still expect to rely on me to survive. Wishful thinking. I ran upstairs, hearing Songji vigorously coughing behind me. As I climbed the stairs, a close family maid whispered to me, "The lady ordered not to save dinner for you." I nodded. It was usual. As I turned around, I paused, hearing the maid's heartfelt pity, so pitiful. Before I returned, it was when Songji successfully recovered and was discharged from the hospital thanks to my kidney. Zhou Jiaxu promised me that it would be his engagement. Unexpectedly, he did get engaged. But not to me, to Songji, enduring nausea and disgust. He had been deceiving me. this country girl he despised, and finally got his wish. On the day of his engagement, he held Song Ji by the waist in front of many guests, and as gently as when he confessed, he said to me, "Song Ji Wei, why don't you take a look in the mirror?" I looked down and saw my swollen figure, swollen from medication, reflected on the spotlessly clean floor, starkly different from the slender and radiant Song Ji. Maybe it was always meant to be worlds apart. In that moment, my heart felt shattered. Fortunately, I woke up from the dream, back to the moment when Zhou Jiaxu first confessed his feelings to me, and I even unlocked a skill that allowed me to hear people's true thoughts. I took out my phone from under the pillow, and as soon as I opened the messaging app, I was greeted with over 99 unread messages. There was only one pinned at the top, from Zhou Jiaxu, at 17. I really liked him a lot. Zhou Jiaxu's messages kept popping up, clearly. He was quite upset. "Zhou Jiaxu, Song Ji Wei, I'm giving you one more chance. My confession still stands. Zhou Jiaxu, are you deliberately trying to anger me? Well, you've succeeded. Zhou Jiaxu, stay away from Qingqi, he's no good." There were several missed calls, and scrolling up, I saw all the messages I had sent him, usually met with silence on his end. On rare occasions, a reply from Zhou Jiaxu would make my day. Now, Zhou Jiaxu was still sending a continuous stream of messages. I quickly blocked him with a single click, then leisurely, I entered the grade group chat, and sure enough, they were discussing the incident from the afternoon, the school heartthrob and the tough guy fighting over a girl, a boring headline. They even posted photos from the scene. I clicked on one and instantly blushed. In the photo, a young man with silver white hair was nearly embracing the girl, reaching over the bicycle handle she was holding, and provocatively staring down Zhou Jiaxu with a raised eyebrow. The comments continued to flood in. Who is this girl anyway? Even the star beauty from the neighboring school hasn't caught Qing Brother's attention. He usually doesn't allow pictures of him, but today there's so many and he hasn't said a thing. It must be serious. I exited the chat just as I received a new friend notification. The username was CC, with the note, "Song Ji Wei's admirer." My heart skipped a beat as I clicked accept. "Ji Wei, I've accepted your friend request. Now we can start chatting." After a brief pause, he sent a voice message. His voice was husky as he said, "Just friends." I intended to pause the voice message, but in my fluster, I accidentally initiated a video call. He answered, and a handsome face appeared extremely close to the camera, almost as if his eyelashes could brush against my face. I instinctively held my phone a bit farther away. Then I heard him chuckle from the screen. Qingqi teasingly said, "Why is your face so red while talking to me?" I struggled to find words. Then, from his side of the screen, someone shouted, wanting to lean in, "Brother Qing, we want to see our sister-in-law." It's all over the forums. Qingqi didn't even look back, just chuckled and said, "Get lost." He then reached out, covering the camera like a child hoarding his toys. Pretty childish. Really. After a while, Qingqi moved his hand away, his lips curving into a smile. "Couldn't stand being apart for a bit and had to video call me. Huh, miss me?" His tone was light, almost seductive. I was about to explain when suddenly, my stomach growled loudly. I was hungry. Before he could react, I quickly pressed the red hang-up button and buried my head in my hands. So embarrassing. End of translation. I couldn't step out, and there was no dinner left for me at home. I searched the entire room but found no snacks or bread. I had no choice but to resign myself to lying in bed and waiting it out. Outside the window stood a tall camphor tree. If it weren't for this tree blocking the view and sunlight, I wouldn't have been given this south-facing room. The leaves rustled, and I heard the sound of knuckles tapping on the glass. Looking up, I saw a silver-haired young man climbing the branches of the camphor tree, acting recklessly. He tapped on the window with one hand while holding a bulging bag in the other. I hurried to my feet and, in disbelief, opened the window as the night wind rushed in like wildfire. I had heard that Qingqi had gone into special forces training right after graduation. His physical condition was indeed top-notch. Qingqi handed me the bag, his elegant fingers well-defined as he curved his lips into a smirk. "Dear Miss Ji Wei, it's Qing Brothers Delivery Service," he whispered. "Would you consider giving a 5-star rating? After all, who is chasing whom? Qingqi." The next day, Qingqi gave me the answer. It was indeed me chasing him. I had to wait for him to finish school and run errands during breaks, even showing up to support him at his basketball games. I brought Qingqi 2 bottles of sports drink as a thank you for last night's delivery. I walked slowly to the gymnasium, only to find it crowded, especially with girls shouting the names Qingqi and Zhou Jiaxu. There was a basketball game between Class 1 and 3. And they were in those respective classes. As I walked towards Chingchi, someone blocked my path. It was Zhou Jiaxu standing right in front of me, his comment from yesterday still stinging in my heart. His expression softened slightly as he reached for the drink in my hand. It had always been like this. I brought him water when he played basketball and took notes while he studied. Occasionally he would sweeten the deal. Zhou Jiaxu said, "Since you brought me water, I'll forgive you for yesterday." I dodged his hand and looked down. "Excuse me." He stood frozen. I quickly walked a few steps to Qingqi behind him and handed him the drinks. Qingqi squinted his eyes, seemingly in a good mood, and lazily said, "Oh, I can't open the bottle." Resigned, I took the bottle back, unscrewed the cap, and handed it to him. Qingqi took a sip, his Adam's apple bobbing, and chuckled towards the direction behind me. Suddenly, I heard his inner thoughts. Qingqi was thinking, "Ugh, I detest presumptuous people." I turned around, and Zhou Jiaxu was still standing there, looking a bit flustered, his lips pursed, and as I looked over, he averted his dark eyes. He was angry, and I was pleased. Qingqi was in top form, unstoppable on the basketball court, inciting waves of screams in the gym. In contrast, Zhou Jiaxu was unusually distracted and kept glancing over in our direction, almost getting trounced. It was no surprise that Qingqi's class won. After the game, Qingqi walked over to me, his face full of triumphant spirit. I handed him the water, and he leaned down, hooking his finger for me to come closer. I felt my face and neck enveloped by his warm breath. Qingqi drawled, "After watching my game, got nothing to say." I blinked. And the girls next to me had been exclaiming for half an hour about how handsome Brother Qi was. I looked up at him hesitantly and echoed, "Brother Qi is handsome." The next second, my head was shrouded in darkness under a jacket. It was the school uniform jacket Brother Qi had set aside before entering the scene, still carrying a scent of soap. I heard someone shouting, "Brother Qi, why are your ears and face so red? Did those guys from class 1 play dirty and hurt you?" Brother Qi clenched his teeth and hissed, "Shut up." 8. Life became much easier without revolving around Zhou Jiaxu. My impression of Qingqi still lingered on that time when I came out of the convenience store and stumbled upon him fighting with some guys from the neighboring school. Terrified, I crouched down on the ground, fearing I might accidentally get hurt, and only dared to look up when everything went quiet. Only Qingqi was left standing, leaning against the wall with a smirk as he looked at me. I was scared. Qingqi asked, "Got a band-aid?" I did have one. Hesitating, I still approached and handed one to him. Instead, he extended his hand, his pale back of the hand slightly scraped, signaling me to apply it for him. Qingqi lowered his gaze and asked, "From first middle school?" I nodded. "Which class? What's your name?" Fearful of the school bully seeking revenge later, I gave a vague response. Just always been a fan of Zhou Jiaxu. That wasn't entirely untrue. At first middle school, maybe not many knew Song Jiwei, but Zhou Jiaxu's sycophant was likely well remembered. Just as I was tearing open the band-aid wrapper, Qingqi suddenly withdrew his hand, his expression turning cold. "Boring." I didn't know which word had set him off. As he walked away, his back looked somewhat frail and unsteady, yet, now that I was getting to know Qingqi, I found him unexpectedly obedient. Even when he got angry, he was quite easy to appease. On the other hand, Zhou Jiaxu always seemed unpredictable. When he was nice to me, it felt like he genuinely liked me, but when he was not, he was truly spiteful. Fortunately, I probably wouldn't have much to do with him anymore. Then, after school, Zhou Jiaxu showed up at the Song residence. I went downstairs to grab some study guides and saw Song Ji happily running out of the piano room, half complaining and half cooing. "Jiaxu, it's been so long since you last visited me." Zhou Jiaxu paused for a moment and asked, "How's your recovery?" Song Ji chattered nonstop. "My health has just been a burden on my parents, but I'm fine. You don't need to worry. I'll ask Auntie to cut some fruit for you. You love." Zhou Jiaxu cut her off, his lips pursed. "No need." He looked up at the stairs and caught my eye as I stood there. He said, "I'm here to see Song Jiwei." Song Ji froze, as if she hadn't heard him right, and repeated, "Brother Jiaxu, who are you looking for?" Ignoring her, Zhou Jiaxu slowly said, "Song Jiwei, come down and talk." Under his gaze, I slowly descended the stairs and then, right in front of him, picked up my Idiot's Guide to High School Math, sighed, and said, "It's not that I don't want to talk to you, but I'm discussing math problems with Qingqi over video. He'll be upset if he has to wait too long." Song Ji's face turned pale. Zhou Jiaxu's face darkened. 9. That night, Song Ji made a fuss all night long, insisting on returning to school. She was much loved and recently in good health, so the family agreed. After her school re-entry process was completed, Song Ji's mother, for the first time, condescendingly spoke so much to me. It was half instruction and half threat, essentially summarizing that I should act as Song Ji's study companion and servant at school. Song Ji's mother said, "Song Ji Wei, don't forget. Being able to study here is all thanks to the resources I provided for you. She has always looked down on me, the country girl, and never took me seriously. My father made his fortune thanks to Song Ji's mother, a second-generation wealthy businesswoman, so naturally, her status is higher." I meekly agreed. It wasn't until the end of the conversation that my father finally spoke up, calling my name, "Song Ji Wei." I turned around. He said, "Don't call Gigi sister at school. It's hard to explain, same father, but the two sisters are only a few months apart." Who could explain that? As soon as Song Ji returned to school, she caused a stir. She had taken a medical leave for half a semester, and during her time at school, thanks to her knack for management, she was considered a prominent figure. She and Zhou Jiaxu were in the same class and recently seemed inseparable. Soon, the rumors about me and Zhou Jiaxu self-destructed, with her parents backing her. Song Ji would boss me around as she pleased. Being under someone's roof, I indeed had no choice but to bow my head. In the sweltering 40-degree midsummer noon, I ran errands for her and her friends, buying ice pops, returning drenched in sweat. I found them laughing together. "That Song Ji Wei, you can tell she's a poor country bumpkin the moment you see her." She clung to Zhou Jiaxu and then moved on to Qingqi. "Song Ji Wei's grades are terrible. She's nowhere near as good as Gigi. Zhou Jiaxu and Gigi are childhood sweethearts." "Gigi, what's your relationship with Song Ji Wei anyway? I've never seen such an obedient dog." They burst into laughter as if they had heard the joke of the century. Suddenly, someone said, "Hey, Gigi, Song Ji Wei has the same last name as you." Song Ji's smile froze for a moment, then quickly returned to normal. "Song Ji Wei is the daughter of our family's housekeeper. My dad pulled some strings to get her into our school." I interrupted their praises of Song Ji's kind family, placing the phone box of ice pops on the table. Song Ji reached out and fiddled with the contents. I had a bad feeling. Sure enough, I heard, "Ji Wei, they're all melted. Could you run out again?" I lowered my eyes, pondering how to retort. Suddenly, a cool voice spoke up, not as gentle as usual. Zhou Jiaxu said indifferently, "Song Ji, that's too much." Silence fell around us. Song Ji looked up, a bit wronged. "Jiaxu, you know she is." She swallowed her next words, seemingly unable to speak them out loud while looking at Zhou Jiaxu. I heard Song Ji's inner turmoil, half anger and half grievance. She thought, why has his attitude changed when we share similar experiences? I glanced at Zhou Jiaxu, puzzled by his sudden defense of me. Perhaps they had changed their tactics, one playing good cop, the other bad cop. I slowly said, "What's too much about it? Haven't you done the same?" When I first pursued Zhou Jiaxu, he was quite annoying. He sent me out to buy coffee in a storm, and when I returned soaked, the coffee not even spilled, he merely glanced and said, "Song Ji Wei, the coffee's cold." Zhou Jiaxu clearly remembered this too. The air grew colder, and no one dared to speak. In the ensuing silence, someone lazily hooked their arm around my neck from behind, pulling me gently backward into their embrace, crashing into a refreshing coolness of summer. I looked up to see Qingqi's eyes, amused yet mocking. "I was wondering where you've been these past days, running errands for others." Qingqi scanned the crowd, his gaze passing over those present. His name had been a buzz on the campus forums, notorious as the school tyrant. "Let her run the errands," Qingqi articulated clearly, pausing after each word. "Are you even worthy?" Qingqi watched with a smirk as the group obediently went off to run laps, not daring to utter a word in protest. Even Song Ji wasn't exempt. A group of them drank melted ice pops and ran laps around the field under the scorching sun, drawing the gaze of classmates from the balconies. The head of discipline hurried toward the field, his half-bald head gleaming in the sunlight. The instigator, Qingqi, stood beside me, his silver hair boldly prominent, squinting down at the people below, his hostility unabated. "Qingqi." I called out his name. He turned, and the fierceness in his eyes melted away instantly. "Don't do this next time," I said softly, my voice barely a whisper. "It's not a good look." It wasn't that I felt pity for Song Ji and the others, rather, it was that Qingqi doing all this for me felt unwarranted. Since my mother passed away, I had been mostly self-sufficient. No one had ever treated me this well, although I'd heard Qingqi had been involved in even shadier dealings before. Such blatant disregard for rules definitely cast him in a negative light. Qingqi rested his chin on his hand, leaning close enough for me to count his eyelashes, and I saw my reflection in his eyes. "Feel better?" he asked. I paused for a moment. "Yes." Qingqi's lips curved into a smirk, his knuckle lightly tapping my forehead. Then, "The impact is quite positive." With Qingqi stepping in, Songji no longer dared to boss me around, scared off by just the mention of his name, so much so that she didn't even complain to her family. Perhaps my words had struck a chord with Zhou Jiaxu, as he too stopped bothering me. Occasionally, I saw Zhou Jiaxu and Songji together at school. Songji would look at Zhou tenderly 1 second and then switch to glaring at me with disgust the next, a real talent for dramatics. But Zhou didn't seem as close to her as I had imagined. However, none of that mattered to me anymore. My only task was to study hard. Lately, there might be another task, tutoring the underachieving student, Qingqi. On the day the monthly test scores were posted, the bulletin board was surrounded by a crowd. My grades weren't great before, but during the days I lay in the hospital before coming back, I had studied high school textbooks, hoping to retake the college entrance exam one day. So, I was also looking forward to seeing my ranking. Songji and her group were at the forefront of the board. "Gigi, you're ranked 29th in the grade, that's impressive." Of course, she was impressive. Her family hired top tutors for her daily. The top of the grade, as expected, is Zhou Jiaxu. They turned around to see me starting from the bottom of the grade, inevitably sneering a bit. I heard Songji whisper, "Some people know their place, aware of where they stand." Suddenly, someone tugged at her sleeve, voice trembling. "Gigi, her ranking, it seems to be ahead of yours, just a few spots above her." Songji stared at the bulletin board, her face turning pale. Someone read out my position. Songji Wei, 20th, surprisingly high. Containing my joy, I finally spotted Qingqi's name. He had jumped to the middle ranks. The Jiwei tutoring class was evidently effective. I turned around, and Qingqi was walking with a group of boys from the end of the corridor, heading to play basketball. I waved, worried he wouldn't see me. I tiptoed and called out his name excitedly, "Qingqi." He lifted his eyelids and looked towards me. 300th place. My eyes curved up, filled with joy and pride. "You ranked 300th, Qingqi." Qingqi paused in his steps, while the people nearby teasingly nudged his elbow. "Bro Qing, your girl is quite cute." Under everyone's gaze, the face of the school tyrant suddenly flushed red. I could sense Qingqi was somewhat irritated. He thought to himself, "It's over, how can she be so good at this?" People who liked Qingqi were many, but due to his reputation as the school tyrant, most harbored secret crushes. However, the one who approached me today was one of the few who openly showed their interest, the school beauty from the neighboring high school, Jiang Xian, who had acted in a few somewhat famous youth dramas. I heard Qingqi fought for her before, though I don't know why they never became a couple. She had been waiting for me at the school gate since early morning. Qingqi and I now go to school together. He had gone to the convenience store to buy breakfast for me, and I was waiting for him at the gate, only to be approached by Jiang Xian first. Jiang Xian was very beautiful. If Songji is the sole pure white jasmine, then Jiang Xian is the intense rose. "Are you Songji Wei?" I nodded. Jiang Xian got straight to the point. "You can't win against me. Stay away from Ah Chi. Ah Chi appears cold but has a kind heart. Sometimes his sympathy can be overwhelming, giving others the wrong impression. Moreover, after what was said about you on the forum last night, I would be too ashamed to even come to school if I were you. Ah Chi's interest in you is just a fleeting fascination. Persisting any further will only bring you embarrassment." "Forum? What forum?" She finished speaking, but suddenly her eyes lit up and looked past me, affectionately calling out, "Ah Chi." Before I could react, a cup of soy milk and a bun were thrust into my hands, and the silver-haired young man with a bag of pure milk bent down, slipping a packet of sugar into my pocket, and even zipped up my partially open backpack. Qingqi didn't look at Jiang Xian and mumbled unclearly, "What were you saying?" I blurted out quickly, "She said you're a 3-minute man, Qingqi." My words were ambiguous, and my face turned red. Qingqi, who hadn't secured the milk bag properly, turned his head with a murderous look towards Jiang Xian. Qingqi's actions were as smooth and practiced as if he had done them countless times before. Jiang Xian watched Qingqi zip up my backpack, her face turning pale. "Ah Chi, you never let others get too close. How can you do these things for her?" Ching-Chi slightly lifted his eyelids and spat out 2 words, "Who are you?" Being a celebrity usually requires a strong mental constitution, but with just 2 words, Ching-Chi broke Jiang Xian's composure. As Ching-Chi and I walked into the school, he suddenly spoke, "I don't know her. I never fought for her, it's all just rumors." I was momentarily stunned, then realized that Ching-Chi was explaining to me. I looked up at Ching-Chi, his light-colored hair making his complexion appear even more pale. He lazily said, "I'm not like some people, who liked someone else before they liked me." Fortunately, she realized her mistake in time. His tone was ambiguous, not clear whom he was referring to. He lightly raised his eyebrows, cueing me, "Right, Song Ji-wei." After the morning's drama, I had a lingering sense of unease. True enough, as soon as I entered the school, something felt off. It was especially apparent during the break. The looks I received in the hallway were peculiar, and I heard whispers from all around. Song Ji-wei is actually an illegitimate daughter. No wonder she's playing both sides. It must be in her nature from birth. If I were her, I wouldn't dare to face Song Ji, let alone go to school with him. Oh my, that's disgusting. I realized something, and while in the restroom stall, I turned on my phone and checked the forum. Sure enough, there was a trending post about Song Ji-wei, the secret child from Yizhong, playing both sides. The post was anonymous, claimed by a fellow student who couldn't stand Song Ji-wei, and it dramatically and falsely narrated my background, completely distorting the truth. It said that Song Ji's parents were the loving and rightful couple. My mother schemed to seduce Song's father for his wealth, and has been using me to blackmail the Song family ever since. Now she had sent me to Yizhong to latch onto wealthy heirs. The post described Song Ji as pitiful, even blaming my mother for his poor health, and how shamelessly I clung to Zhou Jiaxu and Ching-Chi. I didn't need to read further. The comments were all full of scorn. I was so angry I felt dizzy. The truth was not like that at all. It was actually Song Ji's mother who had set her sights on my newlywed father, becoming the other woman, and eventually, they ran off together, leaving my father to never look back at us. Until her death, my mother still hoped he would come back to her. I left the restroom and washed my face at the sink. Zhou Jiaxu passed me a piece of paper. He whispered, "I've already had someone handle the situation on the forum, don't worry." I looked at him through the mirror, his eyes gentle beneath his white shirt. "Did you already know about this?" I asked. Referring to the content of the post, Zhou Jiaxu closed his eyes in distaste and nodded. "I'll take care of this. No one will talk about your background, and don't be mad at me anymore. After this blows over, let's pretend it never happened." He had assumed it to be true without even asking me. He reopened his eyes and looked at me tenderly. "You see, from the moment we first met, I've been helping you. Come back, Ji-wei." I dried my face, tossed the tissue in the trash, and turned to face Zhou Jiaxu, calmly stating, "Zhou Jiaxu, I am not an illegitimate daughter." From the first time we met, Zhou Jiaxu had always been helping me. When I first arrived here, I hadn't even located the Song family home yet and got lost in the villa area, chased around by a large dog from someone's house. My mother had died of rabies, and I had always been terrified of dogs. It was pouring rain that day, and as I ran, my meager belongings fell all over the place. The dog knocked me down, and I was so scared I started crying, but then I heard a whistle, and the dog immediately got off me and ran away happily. Trembling and wiping my tears in the rain, I gathered my pitiful possessions. Suddenly, an umbrella appeared over my head, held by a hand with distinct knuckles, belonging to a cold, young man in a white shirt. For a moment, I felt utterly ashamed. "Did you drive the dog away? Did you save me? What's your name?" he said. "My name is Zhou Jiaxu. Living under the Song family's roof, ignored at school, only Zhou Jiaxu constantly helped me. I always stayed by his side. Maybe I couldn't even clearly define my feelings, whether it was actually liking him. After all, from the beginning, he had his own motives. Zhou Jiaxu was a complex person. Sometimes I thought he liked me, even wanting to write his name on my textbooks, but the next second, he could just stiffen his face and cross out the names he had just written down in the textbook. I always knew he despised something about me, but I never knew what it was. Now, I understand. He always thought I was an illegitimate child, that the blood flowing through my veins was tainted. Liking Zhou Jiaxu is worse than liking a dog. I made my way unobstructed to the entrance of Class 1, and sure enough, I saw a crowd surrounding Song Ji. She was crying sadly, and the people around her were busy comforting her. Seeing me at the classroom doorway, they all glared at me angrily. Fortunately, after the previous incident with Ching-Chi, No one dared to mock me openly, fearing they might offend the school tyrant. Songji had always been superficially gentle with me, since she needed something from me, but lately, something had triggered her. First, she insisted on going to school, then there was the ice pop incident, and our conflict had essentially become public. Her eyes, red and swollen, clenched her fists until they turned white. Songji Wei. Can't you just leave our family alone? I heard her inner thoughts again. Zhou Jiaxu just went to see her. He used to despise illegitimate children just like I did. How could he change like this? Leaning against the wall, I chuckled. Of course not. Songji's expression froze. I walked forward, resting my hands on her desk, looking down at her. This post is misleading. I'm not the illegitimate child, the child of the mistress. Someone else is. Songji had been well shielded by her parents, unaware of their affairs, truly believing her mother was the rightful partner, which led to this misunderstanding and her secret hostility towards me. My sudden declaration caught her off guard, prompting an instinctive rebuttal. What proof do you have? I shook my head, stood up straight, a hint of disdain in my posture. No proof is needed, the accuser bears the burden of proof. The innocent do not need to prove their innocence, I said. I will call the police, justice will give me the answer. Did the person who spread the rumor really think they could remain anonymous without responsibility? Her face turned pale. Before I even called the police, justice arrived first. Someone mentioned, the forum's anonymous feature suddenly went offline. People near me, hiding their phones behind books, were also viewing the post. The poster's name, Songji, was clearly visible. Everyone's gaze at Songji turned strange after comforting her for so long, only to find out she was the one who posted it. Truly, she was one way on the surface and another behind the back. Ultimately, Songji, being thin-skinned and overwhelmed, fainted, in the VIP hospital room. Songji had just come out from dialysis, looking pale. The caregiver was bustling around, and Songji's mother was feeding her sliced fruit. I was being scolded by Songji's father. Songji Wei, I am truly disappointed in you. Is this how you repay us? By upsetting my daughter to the point of hospitalization. He completely ignored what Songji had done. I dangled my eyes tiredly, staring at the clean floor, recalling the time I was alone in the hospital after donating a kidney to Songji. The family's attitude towards me changed drastically right after the surgery. When I first came here, it was to show my long-lost biological father that I, too, was a worthy daughter. Unfortunately, things didn't go as planned. Luckily, I no longer cared. I understand the situation. I heard you're thinking of calling the police. That's ridiculous. You shouldn't go back to school, as those are Songji's classmates. And it wouldn't be good for her. I'll arrange a transfer for you, Mr. Song said, softening his voice as he realized his tone had been a bit too forceful. We're all family here, let's try to understand each other. Okay, no, I replied softly. Mr. Song was stunned. This was the first time I had ever refused him. What did you say? He demanded sharply. My throat felt dry. The atmosphere in the hospital room grew tense. Suddenly, the door swung open without warning, and a group of people entered. Surrounding a young man with silver hair, he spread his hands and said, Songji Wei, come here. I quickly walked towards him and asked in a low voice, how did you get here? Qingqi placed his hand on my back and chuckled. I'm here to support you, Mr. Song clearly recognized Qingqi, his expression turning somewhat ingratiating. I had no doubt that he was about to ask me to connect him with Qingqi. I sighed, feeling unexpectedly emboldened, and repeated firmly, I said no. I will report to the police, and I am not donating my kidney. Whether Songji is alive or dead is none of my concern. Stop bothering me. I turned to look at Songji, who was gripped by panic, clutching the blanket tightly. Songji's dislike for me stemmed from our different mothers, from Zhou Jiaxu, and from her jealousy of my health. I shattered her long-held illusions. Songji, your mother was truly deceptive, and your father was definitely unfaithful during his marriage. Songji, you are the illegitimate daughter you rant about in your posts. After I had spoken my piece, I left the hospital room, leaving chaos behind. Sitting in the hospital corridor, someone suddenly crouched in front of me. Qingqi and his companions had lingered at the door of the hospital room a bit longer, undoubtedly handling the aftermath for me. If it weren't for him, today wouldn't have been so easy for me. I pinched the palm of my hand, looking into Qingqi's eyes. Thank you. The sunlight filtered through his features, exceptionally clear. I hesitated, then asked, why are you so good to me? Qingqi propped his chin and smiled slightly. Are you speaking or cooing? My face flushed instantly. It wasn't coquetry, nor was it flattery. I was genuinely asking you, Ching-Chi. Ching-Chi furrowed his brows as if he was really contemplating. He said, does there need to be a reason? Some people just shine brightly, and when you see them, you want to give them the best. The first time I saw you, you were being chased around by the Zhou family's dog. It was quite a scene, and I was the one who whistled the dog away. I wanted to come over to see you, but then I saw Zhou Jiaxu. Seeing him annoys me, so I left. If I had known it was you, I definitely wouldn't have turned away. Had I known it was Song Jiwei, I would never have let anyone get there first. With that turn, Zhou Jiaxu was all that filled Song Jiwei's eyes, and she couldn't see anyone else. Watching her run around for Zhou Jiaxu, seeing her suffer yet still like him, watching them happy together, all I could do was walk away in disappointment. My eyelashes fluttered, surprised that he had helped me even before Zhou Jiaxu had. I waited for him to continue, but he stopped, his peach blossom eyes making me feel warm, and then, I prompted, you're in such a hurry to probe my feelings, Song Jiwei, he said with a smirk. Ching-Chi stood up casually and commented indifferently. The Zhou family's dog has always been well behaved, never running around and always listening to its owner. Ching-Chi and I went to the police station together to file a case, and the forum post remained online. It was said that Song Ji had been trying to delete the post, but to no avail. Just like the day when the forum suddenly glitched and disabled the anonymity feature, the comments beneath had already turned against her. Ching-Chi and I looked through the content of the post together, and he was particularly displeased with the part about me playing two sides, scoffing, what kind of wreck is Zhou Jiaxu to be worth your stepping on? The case was resolved quickly, not only requiring Song Ji to make a public apology, but I also received a financial compensation. It was neither too much nor too little, just enough to free myself from the control of the Song family, covering my tuition and living expenses. Song Ji admitted that she was spreading rumors, which in a way was also an indirect admission that her own origins were questionable, and that she was the illegitimate daughter. After this incident, my illness worsened. When it rains it pours, and the Song family's business also began to decline suddenly, but it had nothing to do with me. I collected the compensation from the Song family, sipped on a yogurt drink, and typed on my phone, Jiwei, I knew it. Justice would give me an answer. Ching-Chi, what about me? After some thought, I typed out a response, Jiwei, Brother Ching will lead me to justice. There was no reply for a long time. I put down my phone to do my homework, and when I remembered to check it again, a new message had been there for a while. Ching-Chi had sent a voice message, the voice of a young man, hoarse and slowly flowing through the earpiece. Song Jiwei, what should I do? I feel like you're about to catch up to me. Under the camphor tree, a young man in a white shirt stood for a long time. The fragmented light fell softly on Zhou Jiaxu. As I walked under the tree, he called out my name. I turned around, puzzled. Zhou Jiaxu's expression was complex. It was hard to tell if he felt relieved or something else. I'm sorry, he pursed his lips. I never thought Zhou Jiaxu would say these words. He didn't seem as unapproachable as Ching-Chi, but he was prouder than anyone and would never easily lower his head. Patiently, I asked, is this about the misunderstanding that I'm an illegitimate child? Zhou Jiaxu looked at me intently for a few seconds before responding in a low and strained voice. For everything that happened before, Song Ji has been telling me for years that she had a half-sister from the same father, and I just took her word for it, seeing my expressionless face. Zhou Jiaxu's eyes drooped, revealing a fragile, glass-like vulnerability. Have you ever met my brother? I had met him before, a cute little chubby boy who liked to run after Zhou Jiaxu, but Zhou Jiaxu's attitude towards him was indifferent, even harsh. Zhou Jiaxu paused, then exposed his own wounds. He is the child of a woman my father kept on the side. I belatedly realized that Zhou Jiaxu's conflicting attitude towards me was merely projecting his own pain onto me. He even helped deceive me along with the Song family because, in his eyes, I owed them. Zhou Jiaxu. I suddenly called his name, my eyes curving into a smile. He looked up, holding his breath, as it had been a long time since he had seen me smile at him. I heard the bitterness in Zhou Jiaxu's heart, but I really do like Song Jiwei a lot. I like you. As soon as I finished speaking, I saw Zhou Jiaxu's eyes light up, and I scoffed, believe that? Disgusting. Zhou Jiaxu must understand. Some things can't be fixed with an apology. I returned those words to him. Zhou Jiaxu was unsteady on his feet, watching me quietly and painfully. Perhaps at that moment, he realized what he had truly lost. Song Jiwei, a lazy voice sounded from behind me. tinged with dissatisfaction. I quickly turned around to see Ching-Chi standing not far behind us, holding a strawberry-flavored ice cream, his peach blossom eyes squinted, giving me the feeling of being caught in an affair by the rightful partner. I didn't bother with Zhou Jiashu anymore and ran towards Ching-Chi. However, I slipped halfway and crashed right into Ching-Chi's arms. Ching-Chi steadied me but hissed in pain. I hurriedly apologized. "I'm so sorry, where does it hurt?" Ching-Chi took my hand and pressed it against the area over his left heart. Beneath my palm was his hot, rapidly beating heart. I looked up to see Ching-Chi's face showing no sign of pain. Instead, his eyes were lowered as he looked at me, his gaze tender and affectionate. "It hurts here." I realized I had been played. As I turned to leave, Ching-Chi gently pulled me back and sighed. "Dear Miss Ji-Wei, I understand that there are other guys around you, but as someone pursuing you, I feel a bit insecure. So, I've decided to drop 2 words from pursuit object. Can you guess which ones?" Pursuit. Ching-Chi tightened his grip slightly and gritted his teeth. "No, the object." I couldn't hear the whispers of the heart anymore, just the pounding sounds of our 2 hearts. No one spoke, and the sunlight poured down. After all, there's still a long time ahead, and the road is long. After all, this is still a new beginning. Actually, pursuing Ching-Chi, the school tyrant, isn't that hard.